3, 2, 1. Yeah. And we're live.
I look good. How's my hair?
It looks sexy.
It's fabulous.
How's my hair?
Nice and thick.
Yeah,
That's with 2 C's.
it's growing in.
My hair's been inside my beanie all day long because we had a heat wave today. We got up to we got above freezing today.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I gotta grab this link.
How is there already this many people in here?
How many? I only see 3.
Oh, I'm showing 15.
Oh.
Must be a bit of a lag with the thing.
That's fine. I just make sure hello, everybody.
Zach, we just got above freezing today, and we're gonna be up to 60 by mid next week. It's gonna be awesome. We have had over 2 weeks of less than 20 degrees as the high.
Oh.
It's been the coldest it's ever been here. My
What's up,
6.0
PK?
did 6.0 things and gelled the fuel filters and didn't start.
Oh yeah, you got your 6.0 now, huh?
Yeah. It did 6.0 things before that, actually. I bought it, and I have put as much money into it as what I paid for it. I've
really?
doubled my investment in the 6.0 so far.
I hope you got a good deal.
I did. I got it for under $7,000.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an 07, last year production, and it's a King Ranch.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Because it needed some love.
Most
Like
diesel
Corey's the centerpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Oh, yeah. I got to Whoopsie. Hold on. Let me gallery view. There we go.
I can't.
That's because I was doubling it earlier to make it look like it was funny. All right, what do I...
Look, you can't get any funnier than this. This is naturally funny.
There we go. There we go. Let me adjust.
Forgive me. I'm trying to share the link and.
Yeah, no. You do your thing. So we kind of impromptu guys this thing. So it's like it just went live on my channel, but I totally forgot to even make a thing for it so we could advertise it or anything.
It's kind of thrown together last minute as far as
Yep.
getting everybody together and stuff, and
I think it worked out well last time, and everybody wanted to try this again. So we're gonna do a part 2. Try to stay on topic.
yep. What is the topic, Corey?
Well, I mean, we really should break this up because there's a lot of things with mobile that change. I've learned incredibly fast. That's different than standing in a shop. You have time management issues. You have billable time issues. You have tooling issues. You have my phone dropping to the floor.
Technical issues. You got technical issues.
So, yeah, I mean, Keith knows better than anybody right here, right?
Yeah.
So from a fresher perspective, and then a freshest perspective, and then Brandon fits in there as well in the mid. I'm not sure what the timeline is for Brandon. I'm gonna sit here and hold my phone unless I can figure this out. I mean, you want to work on time management? That's easy. Write up a list of the cars you have to do, throw the list in the garbage, and then go out and try to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, 100%.
If you want to talk about time management, you're gonna listen to me rant because my time management is at an all-time worst this week with the snow and my current schedule. And I just got done before we went live on the air saying how behind schedule I am and how I'm in the middle of, I don't even know, 14, 16, 18 cars waiting for me. Literally have to revisit 6 because I was waiting for them to either get parts or take things apart and go back. So we can hit on time management. We can hit on billable time, which seems to be an important issue. And I don't mean like talking about price because obviously it's different around the country and I wouldn't want to.
Yeah. We can cover the questions we received because we did get a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did ask everyone last time you can email us questions. I already have an email set up for questions I do on my channel, the TechQuestions at l1training.com. And I just said if you got questions you'd like us to answer, put them in, send them in an email, and then we will and put notate that it's for the roundtable. I think I got 1 or 2 in my email, and then there were a bunch that were in the comments from the last video. So I'll pull that up here in a minute.
Okay.
So I'll offer the first question. You guys can take off, and I'll get the other questions going. Let's see. 2 questions I think be interesting for us aspiring mobile technicians. One, what would be the most crucial tool to buy first in order to take the leap?
But and before we go too far, I like PJs. I want to save that somehow.
Yeah. I was just going to comment on that, but I think we need to.
I'll start a list of questions.
Thank you.
So.
I guess I'll start. You can't really narrow that down to just one thing. Start going mobile, because most of the time with mobile, you're doing programming as well as diagnostics. So you got to have the diagnostic aspect as well as being able to program. So, which I guess, if you were to have like the Bosch scan tool with the J2534 and Alltel, then you can kind of narrow it down to just one tool to start with. But as we all know, you can't just have the one.
And when they say tool, are they talking about scan tool? I assume.
Yeah. Well, they just said the most crucial tools to buy first in order to take the leap. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, that is hard.
I started on the road with a launch Diag gun. No, I think it was pre-Diag gun that I started. Remember? I had a launch. I had a Diag gun because I was doing videos at the shop still with it.
Yeah, I thought you had a Diag gun.
Yeah, I've had that for a long time. And then I had a 908, which I've had since like 2013 or 2014, an Autel MS 908. Not the P. Didn't even have the Pro. I still actually have a 919 now, but other than that, that's my first Autel Jbox I've got. And then I had a Bosch MasterTech J2534 device. I think I had a Tech 2. Yeah, I had a Tech 2 for a long time. I've had an old MasterTech, an MTS 3100, the actual handheld scan tool. And I think that's really all I had for scan tools. And with the Jbox, I was doing short-term subscriptions for everything.
That sounds like, rather than what should you have, we're probably better off just going with what did we have and what happened, right?
Yep.
We went out with this, found out quickly it wasn't enough, and then bought more stuff.
It's never enough.
Yeah.
Ever.
I can tell you in the last 12 months, I've spent more money on diagnostic tools than I have in the last 12 combined. Easy.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yep.
It got to the point I stopped counting. I literally stopped counting last year. I just started laying out the credit card. Yeah, give me that, give it to me. So what do you need to start? Take if you're doing pretty well in shop with what you have, take all of that, put it all in your vehicle, and go figure it out. Because now we start getting into the demographic again, the dynamic of where you are, what kind of cars are in your area. Keith, you don't really see Euros as much as I do, I think.
Right.
So you can't. There's no answer for that. Figure out your area and what you're going to be working on.
Well, and so on my end, I thought I had, I've heard guys, I've talked to enough mobile guys realizing that, because I'm trying to see if it was feasible me going mobile if I had enough equipment and everything. Because obviously you see guys like Keith and everything that's been doing it for years, having multiple factory scan tools, talking to some other guys and everything else that, you see this abundance of tooling that they have. And talking to guys like Ben Jameson and some other guys, like they didn't start out with all that. They started out with, maybe a couple scan tools, maybe a Jbox. And as the business grew, the tooling grew. So it grew with the, as you get bigger and as, you can provide more things for the customers and everything. And so it made me realize like, okay, you don't have to have everything. Well, now going out and being mobile, I thought I would have enough to be okay. And man, you just makes you realize like, yeah, there's a lot you don't have, even when you think you have a lot.
Yeah.
Not saying you can't do it, but it's, there's always going to be something. Now it's not buying the nuts or the wrenches and sockets and everything, but there's always that tool that you that would make life easier and simpler and stuff. So it's not any different than being in a shop going onto the tool truck. You always need something.
Right.
Like I know for me, I started out with the Alltel J2534, and I think I ran that one for about 5 months until I needed to step up for like the newer Nissans and stuff. So
I got
But
11
it's
months out of my hotel.
Well, to be honest with you, I still use it quite a bit just because it's a little bit smaller than the Cardac, just easier to handle and such. But
And before I forget, I know Keith mentioned it, and I'm going to mention it again because I got myself jammed up again the other day. If you have an Autel tablet and an Autel Jbox, and you go to program, he knows where I'm going.
Yep.
Shut the tablet off before you start to program. I did it again to myself the other day. The tablet will fight for communication over the Jbox with your laptop, and the tablet will sometimes win at the wrong time.
really,
Yes.
Which
Yes,
vehicle was
the
that
more
on,
you
Corey?
know.
What?
Which vehicle was that on? Was it one you were having issues with, or?
It
I
wasn't
had
the Rogue, was it?
everything I programmed this week, I had an issue with. Every single vehicle had no programming went smooth this week. I really felt like I had my back to the wall this week. But
Sounds like my week.
I don't remember one of them quite literally. In the middle, I said I couldn't figure out what was going wrong, and then I remembered. I grabbed the tablet, I hit power off, and as I did it, I watched the light blink on the Jbox. I went, "You son of a gun!" Did it again.
Damn it. Yeah, and I've never programmed with the Autel, so yeah, that's good information for the future if I ever do. So
Yeah, I have so many other Jboxes. I never programmed with it. I did a couple for testing, but nothing like I didn't like rely on it. I did borrow one. I think 3 weeks into me going mobile, my Master Tech died. The USB port took a dump, and Mike Robinson, thank you very much, sir, sent me his Autel, and I used it for like a week while my Cardac was being shipped in.
remember those videos? Yeah.
Yeah, that was so stressful. Like, I was 3 weeks in, didn't have a job. My Jbox is like, nope, eats it.
I know, and I've been putting off buying the Cardac 3, and I tried to buy the Nissan Mongoose cable just because I have the micropod and stuff. So I was, trying to have my money go further in other directions. I bought this micropod thinking, I do so many Chryslers in the shop, and since I've gone mobile, I've fired up the micropod twice.
Right.
So that's one of those, man. I should have spent the money on the Cardac 3, which thank you, Brandon. I did end up getting a Cardac 3. So I can do some R to R, which I see Isaac has showed up. I'm sure he's got some things to say about Nissan R to R right now.
Corey had the same exact experience just the other day.
He did. I know about that too.
Well, how's the Rogue, Corey?
Oh
what,
God,
the Rogue?
Brandon,
The Rogue, is it done?
grab that salt.
The roads are fine. But that was
No,
funny. What
Rogue.
The what? Oh, the Rogue. No, we're not talking
Rogue.
about the Rogue. We don't talk
Okay.
about the Rogue anymore.
Okay.
That was an insurance claim. It mysteriously caught fire.
No, you know what? No, we're gonna. That's a whole nother. We'll just make we'll do one of these and we'll just talk about Nissan.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss that because it'll take over the whole conversation. It's a legit, real problem. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if
Nissan.
I don't know if I'll ever find out because it went to the dealership.
They're going to put everything on it.
Huh?
They're going to put a harness and all the modules in it and new keys.
I know, and I'm not going to get a real answer, and I hate that.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't want to give up on that car. Let's not do it. Let's not get into it.
Yeah, let's not go.
Let's stay focused.
So most critical tools. So we all talked about what we started with, right? Cody, what'd you start with?
So Cardac 2, I also had a Cardac Plus, Tech 2, IDS, a Micropod.
Way more prepared than me.
I was just thinking the same thing. That's why I'm doing that.
Well, and that's yeah. So
right,
then,
wait, let me go because I went simpler. My Autel 908, my launch Diagon 5, my Autel Jbox, and
so we all pretty much
and an Isaac laptop. Actually, in the beginning, I didn't even have the Isaac laptop.
Cody was so far was the only smart one.
Yeah,
he got prepared.
Well, I wouldn't say the smart one. It's one of those that, and this can be obviously for another discussion and stuff. But it's the shop that I was at for 14 years. They didn't invest into scan tools and everything. And if we wanted to diagnose these vehicles coming through the door, their scan tool was a OTC Genesis updated to 2006. So if we wanted to diagnose these vehicles, it was up to the technicians. And I'm one of those that, you know, I don't want to pass anything along to the dealer or say that I can't diagnose it and stuff. So it's a lot of money out of my pocket and everything. And that's one nice thing about now having a business, that I can actually tax write off these tools, which we used to be able to as technicians a couple of years ago, which now we can't. So that makes it hard. But so I invested into a lot of these tools and everything with hopes that eventually I didn't see myself being there forever, but I didn't know if I was going to be moving in, like if I was going to get a brick and mortar, or I didn't know what my future held. But I didn't want my future to be solely on all the tooling that they had at that shop. I wanted it to be mine, to make me a little bit more valuable, I should say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I started out with the Veris Edge, Maximus 3.0, Pico, and Alltel, Jbox, and Isaac's computer, and have spent way too much money over the past year since doing it.
Yeah.
But
Y'all got some nice shit. I started with an Actron.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, when I
Yeah.
left my first job, I had an E350 van, a Snap-on portable mobile mechanics toolbox, like one of the old 80s ones with the flip-up lid,
Oh yeah.
an Actron scanner, and a couple different test lights. And that's when I started my business. When I quit the other shop, you guys got some nice stuff.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but you started really young though, didn't you?
He's
Yeah,
still
I mean,
really young. What do you mean started young?
Yeah, it
It's like-
started.
no.
I'm like,
No, I'm saying like young, like 21, 22.
I opened my shop when I turned 23.
Yeah.
But it was also 2009, 2010, but there was no jobs available. So all I was doing was finding the path to provide for myself. And the easiest path to provide for myself was to invest in myself.
You know, I'm
Right.
listening to you guys, and man, I feel older by the second.
Seeing Brandon and Keith and Isaac and stuff, I'm like, I'm just a couple years older, but I'm like, Jesus, man, you guys accomplished a lot at a young age, man. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
I-
No
I
doubt.
think
And let's go back on questions, because I really want to get back to PJs and go from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got a few more.
Yeah,
We got two more before we get to PJs.
Okay.
But where I was going with that, what the most critical tools is, I did want to elaborate. We can probably circle back to it. Is knowing what you know now, what tools would you have started with? So we'll get back to that, because that'll probably be a long one. We'll all have disagreements and such.
Yes.
So the next one is: do you have any good resources you could point us to have access to good quality secondhand tools? So I like that to be two questions. I would rather not specify only. Oh, Isaac, sorry. I have the questions. I'm hiding them. They're in my email.
I guess I'll start eBay, Facebook Marketplace. I've bought a ton off of eBay, and because that's usually, and Keith, you said that you got a really good deal on that.
A lot of
my
stuff.
mind just went blank.
All my
No,
1, 2,
what
3,
was
4
the-
YF stuff.
Yeah, there we
All
go.
my yeah.
My mind went blank there. Yeah, but I mean that just shows that you can get excellent deals on stuff for just eBay or Facebook Marketplace.
I think I bought my third Bosch MasterTech just a few years ago, and I paid $250 for that one. I paid $150 for my first one in the eBay auction. I paid $900 for one because I bought an OTC Genesis, brand new in box, that had the Bosch MasterTech with it, and I took the Bosch MasterTech out and then resold the OTC Genesis set for like $500.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
four green
and
boxes.
as far as starting out trying to find decent stuff used, good luck, because I still pick up stuff second. I just bought another Autel scope, not for me, because I have young guys that are looking to up their game a little bit, so I look out for them. and I have 2 or 3 of them that want scopes. So I saw an Autel scope in one of the groups that we're in, and he said he had one for $200 used. And if I tell you used, this thing looks like it might have come out of the box and went back in brand new. And I gave him some shipping money, and I passed it along to one of these kids for basically what I paid for it. So as far as buying good stuff used, fight me for it.
Yeah.
Well, it comes back to networking too, because like how we were talking beforehand before we went live, I've got that pretty big lot that I'm going to go look at tomorrow. That just came from networking because somebody was like, "Hey, you're in the market for tools?" Of course I am. Well, come out, look at some tools with me. So networking on top of, the Facebook and eBay and all that stuff.
Right.
Craigslist.
Yep. eBay, Craigslist.
Did we lose Keith? I think we lost him.
No, I'm here. I'm working on this echo issue.
Okay. Did you want to pop up a second question or keep going with that one?
I mean, there's a couple really big Facebook marketplace style groups that are for used tools specifically. And I mean, there's tens of thousands, if not over 100,000 technicians in a couple of these tool groups. And there's great deals that come up on used stuff, new stuff. Yeah, I mean, tools are tools, feed the addiction.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And thing is, yeah, and all those places are great. And if you guys are already mobile and stuff, I mean, you're gonna go into shops and like Corey said, I mean, there's gonna be shops willing to get rid of stuff for pretty much pennies on the dollar, because they've never used it. And like Corey said, I mean, I'll pick up tools that like the Cardac Plus. I mean, I have 3 of them now. I don't need 3 Cardac Pluses. It's kind of outdated and stuff anyway, but I'll pick them up to help the shop out and turn around and I'll sell them and stuff on eBay to hopefully, help somebody else out or hold on to it. And if a tech's wanting to get into programming, kind of getting them then in a little bit cheaper than going out and spending top dollar on this stuff. And, you just kind of feel it out. But I was able to pick up an iFlash with all the bench flash cables and everything for really cheap, and the technician hasn't used it in the last 8 years. So it helps the technician out, it helped me out. So it was a win-win.
And the fun and part of that is when you go looking for the used tools, there's 3 dynamics. There's the shop that's looking to cut them loose and you can pick up a good deal. There's the people that don't know what they're worth, and I'm not saying take advantage, but then they're just like, I just need to get these out of here. And then you have the people on a lot of these groups. Unfortunately, they put them up there because maybe they want to stretch the dollar. Maybe maybe they're only discounting a little bit. So you got to watch a lot of these. We go to these used tool groups. I very rarely see a deal, and if there is one, it's gone in a second because so many people are watching it.
Yeah.
So the good deals you're going to stumble upon, and you just got to keep your eyes and ears open and be ready with a couple of dollars cash in your pocket to grab it when it comes along.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I just got a 908P that was used 5 times. All I did was traded a Snap-on work light and a PCM for a Honda, and got a 908P.
Yeah, I don't stumble across stuff that good.
And then I also got a Vantage Ultra or Edge Ultra, whatever. I traded a torque wrench for it.
Torque wrench?
Yeah, that I'll never use again. I was like, whatever.
If we can, you want to move on to I really want to jump on PJs. I like that question.
I do too. His was a good question.
Right.
That first one, is it possible to do mobile Diag part-time? I can't lose my health insurance in a shop and don't have the kahunas to lose my financial security, but I want the challenge of doing mobile Diags.
Well, this is something we wanted to talk about anyway, Corey. So the fact that PJ's bringing it up, this brings up a good discussion, I feel like. So you want to start with that?
I'm a perfect example of it. I'm not doing it part-time, I'm doing it full-time, but I have a full-time second job, which is part of my problem. I need to be at my other job at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I got to be there, ready to punch in at 4 o'clock. So, I mean, that goes into other discussions about the stress factor, right? Some people are stressing over the dollar and productivity because they have to pay their guys and pay their overhead and pay their health insurance for their family and try to come up with a pension plan. So yes, I have the benefit of having a second job that has my health insurance and benefits and such, which is the plus side. The downside is I have to maintain 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah. How does that work with your time management?
What? Who?
How does that work with your time management, having the 2 jobs?
What is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Cody, are you speaking French?
Yeah. I'm who? It's not. Well, yeah, it is managed. It's managed by not managing it. But yeah, so can you do it part-time? Absolutely. I was doing it part-time when I started working with DeFazio.
I got to interject for just a second. Speaking of the time management and fitting food when you can, my camera was off because I was eating pizza.
There you go.
It's dinner time. I turned the camera off and I was like,
you ate dinner?
That's exactly. I had to do it right now during a live stream.
I don't have dinner. It's 8:40. I rolled in the door. I was telling you, I rolled in the door. We went on a college tour today with my daughter. I rolled in at 3 minutes to 8, jumped on this thing, and so time management. Yeah.
Your version of college tour and mine are totally different. I'd never do mine with my daughter.
She's the one going to college though. She's got to pick it.
It was a joke.
And I got out of work on my other job at 8 o'clock this morning. Jumped in my car, came home, picked everybody up, drove out 100 and some odd miles to Pennsylvania, actually 130 miles out to PA, actually more than that, and then toured, came back, and here I am. So can you do it part-time? Yes, I started doing it part-time along with doing my own wrenching in my garage, and then going part-time mobile with DeFazio, either him sending me on a call or 2 or doing it with him. Is it possible? Yes. It is difficult because you have to. I was taking all of my stuff out of my toolbox and putting it into boxes and into my truck to go do calls, then come back and putting it back in my toolbox. Horrible. Not to mention I have the beautiful Diag cart that my family bought me, and I set it all up with the monitor, and it's collecting dust now.
Yep, mine too.
But is it possible? So, but let's sticking to the point. Is it possible to do mobile Diag part-time? 100%. It's probably if you can manage it, I think it's the best way to do it.
You're all right. There's kind of, I know you're in a different area than me where you're in like midnight and stuff. I know a lot of the shops in my area close 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night. So then you kind of run into the issue is the shop going to be open after your normal working schedule for you to be able to go there? Because I've had shops that don't call me anymore because they called and wanted me there in 2 hours and I just couldn't make it. And so you might run into that situation as far as you're working full time and then, do you leave your full-time job to go do some mobile work, or do you finish that and then lose your mobile? And then you also have some shops that won't let you or don't like you moonlighting or allow it in their shop to moonlight because they think that you might be stealing a customer. So you kind of run into like the ethical standards of it, as well as do you have the time in the day to do it, or the shops that you're trying to service are going to allow you to come in after they're closed to do your mobile work, if that makes sense. Unless you're wanting to do individuals, which I know people do individual, but I don't. I maybe do one individual a month at the most, and that's everything I do is in the shop. So
that's the way I stick to it. It's just one, for insurance reasons, and 2, I just don't want to get in the middle of that because then you're going to leave you're going to leave it, and nothing against the DIYer, but I'm going to leave him with, hey, do this, and he may not have the ability to do it. Then he's going to look at me. I don't do repair. I do Diag. I don't repair. I don't carry tools with me.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
no. I was just gonna say I have a truck sitting out front of the house right now that I've told the customer to pull the intake 3 times on a 5.4 Ford for the intake manifold runner control. He called me saying, this is an individual. It's still setting codes, everything else. Well, I go and look at it, and he's got the wiring harness instead of running around the fuel injector. He has it up underneath, rubbing on the rods, so they're not able to move. This is the 3rd time I've told him, it's frustrating because I almost want to be like, I'll fix it for you, but I don't want to do the mechanical repairs. But I don't think he's capable of honestly doing it properly, how it should be done. Mind you, he did do the timing chains and everything else on this vehicle, but it's the intake, and it's the 3rd time it's coming off that I've told him to take it off. So yeah, it's frustrating.
Very much so. Like that Chevy Sonic that I dealt with for a week and a half. It's very, very, very frustrating sometimes.
Is that it? A week and a half? That ain't nothing. Let's talk about the road. No.
No.
No, we're not doing it.
Well, the Sonic was at my house for a week and a half. Before that, it was like a 3-week ordeal with that thing. But, it's the mobile life.
So I guess the bottom line is, PJ, yes, you can do it mobile part-time. You just got to figure it out. Or you can jump into it with both feet like Cody did and hit the ground running. And
actually,
like you did it.
Actually, I didn't just jump right into it. The past year since I switched the new location of the shop or whatever to the new company, I was getting calls. I wasn't advertising anything, but I was getting calls from buddies from other shops that needed programming or needed something done. Or friends of friends that needed diagnostic work and stuff. And it was hard because obviously I work Monday through Friday at my full-time job. But I would, a couple of the shops I went to, they were the owners and stuff. So they would stay open late. So I would leave work and actually go and do a network diagnostics or whatever it is, or a Saturday I'll run down and do a programming and stuff. And then I realized that, man, I was getting these calls and I was doing them, man, it was almost every single weekend that I'm busy. So now I'm back to work. I left a shop working 6 days a week to a shop that I'm working 5 days a week. Now I'm working 6 days a week again, but that helped me build the business before I just completely jumped in 100% and made me realize, like, look, I do have the clientele and stuff to, let's do this. I, instead of just jumping in full steam ahead, I have those shops continuously calling. So it wasn't as scary because I knew I was going to be getting called from these 4 or 5 shops at least. So yeah, you can do it, PJ, for sure.
You can, but you just need to make sure your family is prepared. It can stress your home life.
Yes.
100%.
Now I jumped in feet first, like quit my job on Thursday with nothing else to do and was mobile on Friday with no customers. So it's possible, but you just got to have your finances set to be able to take that leap of faith. And that's the biggest thing. So
I'm just trying to look through some of the questions.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Paul
So we've got.
Smith,
Go ahead.
Paul said, when do you throw in the towel on a Diag?
Don't ask me. I spent way too long on the road.
I spent a lot of time on a Sonic. I guess it kind of comes back to your ego. It's, do you want to figure it out or do you want to make money? And that's
huge ego. That's my problem.
That's me too. And I'll take the Sonic, for instance. The shop kept on with that Sonic. And then I finally, with that Sonic, I figured out the issue. He kept saying there was more issues. And I had already charged the guy for the initial Diag, and this was like 3 weeks prior. And it got to the point where he kept doing the ever since. So I wrote the guy a check for my initial Diag, put it in the car, left the keys in the car, told him to come get it. That because after 2 weeks, it was, I'm not going to continue messing with this. And he was expecting me to work on this car all day long for my initial Diag fee from 3 weeks ago.
That-
It's like,
And
no.
that's a very good point, Brandon, because I will get called to shops for getting called into a shop for a no start. This was today's Friday, Thursday, Wednesday for a no crank, no start, no communication to the PCM. I show up, and then he mentions there's no power to the DLC. He checks all the fuses. Well, what do I find? A blown fuse, blah, blah, blah. Ends up needs a fuse and everything else. I check the circuit's good. And then I go in, I'm giving them the bill. And what about going into limp mode? I'm sorry, buddy, but that's a separate fee. And that's, they once they feel that they get you out there, I really feel like they nickel and dime you, and that you need to stand your guns, because if it's got 10 codes and they're unrelated, I'm sorry, but that's not the standard. It wouldn't be the standard if I was in the shop. So it's not the standard. This is the price. It's going to be, this is a level 3 Diag or a level 2 or whatever it may be. But this doesn't cover what I originally quoted you.
Well,
So-
I know for me, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so what I found helpful in those types of situations is at that point. So one of the things that I think has been really beneficial for me from owning a shop before I went on my own doing the programming and some Diag, but I don't do drivability like you guys do. I only do electrical and diesel and high voltage Diag. I don't do any drivability, but what I've just come to explain is like maybe go up front and talk to the manager and just help explain to them the advantages of training, the advantages of selling the diagnostics for them as a shop, and how to mark up the services so that they profit off of it, and explain to them the benefits of paying whatever the fee is as a sublet, and having their guys go back and work on something else that is more productive. Like if you're in a transmission shop, well, is your R&R guy's time more productive being an R&R guy, or chasing his tail for a day on something, trying to understand and learn a system because you're trying to save a couple $100? And that's really, I found, if you reapproach it in the sense of, hey, let me help you understand how to make money off of this service, it really eliminates the arguments. I don't ever really have disagreements with shops. Today, I went to a shop and I charged them a trip fee because they want to pay the Diag fee for programming on a GM transmission because it wouldn't start because it was a no-com. And they called me back an hour later to have me do the programming. They asked for a small discount, and I gave them a $50 discount on the initial trip fee because they understood, but they've also listened and they understood, like, hey, you do have to be profitable in this too. So I don't know. I think educating the shops helps take some of that edge off, and it helps provide a better service to the industry too, because what we do is unique, and it is hard for them to sometimes understand the profitability behind it.
No, and it is. I got told yesterday I came and programmed a used transmission control module on a Dodge Dodge Durango. The transmission's bad, but I sat there and I spent 3.5 hours because it wasn't communicating with the ESM on the new transmission. I programmed it. I got called in. I see that the programming files have changed. I see that the VIN has changed. I even went to the process of hooking up the old transmission, disconnecting the connector, putting it onto the old one, making sure that the files are the same. And I go up and give them the bill, and they said I didn't do anything. Well, I just spent 3.5 hours here trying everything I can. It's not a programming issue. I diagnosed it. It needs a transmission, but they don't see the value in that, and then they're wondering why I'm charging them. So, that's some of the frustrations running into being mobile. You didn't do anything. Yeah, I document everything. If you look at your invoice, you can see that the part numbers have changed, the VIN number has changed, but you didn't do anything because it's not fixed. That's not my issue. If the transmission's bad and you just paid your technician 10 hours on a customer supplied transmission to put it in, and it's bad, you're charging that customer. My business is no different. You called me for a service. I performed the service. If I wasn't able to do it, I wouldn't have charged, but I did do it, but it's not my fault.
I didn't build it, break it, or buy it. I'm just here to fix it.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say I got a if I point this way, I have a friend of mine who said you're paying me for my time, not the fix. You're paying me You're paying me to be here and work on your vehicle. I forget how he said it. How did you say it, Keith?
I know. I know.
You had said it one day really well.
I'm trying to remember. I say a lot of things.
Yeah.
Pay me for my tools, my timing, or my tools, my time.
That's my line. You're paying me for my tool,
Yeah.
tool, timing, knowledge, and experience. I charge for all four. But for a shop, when you come in, they think for the shop that thinks they're paying for the repair. They're
Right.
paying for the complete diagnosis. Sometimes you get to that point and you go, okay, we're not at the diagnosis, but
Yeah.
here's your problems.
I'm charging for my analysis and charging for you. I'm charging as a consultant fee. You're asking me to come in and tell you what I think, what I find. And 99.9% of the time, that leads to 100% diagnosis.
Right.
There's a 0.01% of the time that it's like, man, we got to do this. This is an issue. We have to address this first, or maybe we need to address this first, or and unfortunately that does happen. But that is not. It shouldn't. It doesn't happen. How do I phrase this? Saying we have to do this first doesn't really happen as often as it gets said.
I spoke to you about this the other day. I had a 350, a Nissan 350Z that I got called in for an airbag light. They already put a crash sensor in it, a seatbelt in it, a seatbelt buckle. I'm not sure what else. When I got there, it had a code in the ABS module that it had been in an accident, airbag deployment code. Passenger side seatbelt tensioner, front crash sensor fault, and steering column short. I said, okay, this thing was in an accident. And they go, no. I go, yeah, it was. And the other mechanic goes, well, yeah, it's got a used airbag. And I saw it when I took they did a clock spring too. And when they did the clock spring, there was a used airbag, he said, from a junkyard. Or she bought it off eBay. I went, stop. So we have a clock spring, a seatbelt buckle, a front crash sensor thrown at it. It's got a code for airbag deployment. It's got a used airbag in it. Guess what? We got to do a module first and get that used airbag out of there because somebody's going to jail for that if something goes wrong. So so in essence of what you just said, do the controller first. We'll program it and then we go forward because I'm not going to troubleshoot those other issues with a module that's no. So that's it. And then when I told and I discounted. I didn't charge them. I don't want to get into price. I see people asking questions about how much you charge. It varies throughout the country. I don't want to get into actual numbers, but I didn't charge them my normal actual show up fee, which includes the first hour. I discounted it. He's a good shop. He calls me a lot. I discounted it. And he was like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to eat this one. I said, why are you going to have to eat it? He goes, well, how am I going to bill that when I didn't fix the car for her? I go, it's called Diag time. I charge it. You should charge it. I said, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I can't do that.
Not only should they charge it, they should make money on it.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. You're helping the customer out. You're not helping the customer out. You're there to help the shop out. So the shop shouldn't be being hurt by you showing up. You're there to assist them, and they should be marking that up appropriately, just like anything else that they sublet.
Yep.
If they sublet muffler work, I guarantee you they're taxing on some money for that.
And like Keith said, and I've said this out loud to shops, I need you to make money so that you keep calling me, you stay in business, and you keep calling me, and I can make money.
Yep.
I'm not here for you to lose. If you tell me you're losing on a job, then we're all losing. Because I'm not doing anything wrong here. You need to charge the Diag charge. You need to put on a separate line item. Don't bury it in the job as part of the job. This isn't 1973. You have to diagnostic time, repair time. This is the way it has to be.
Kind of getting back onto it though, how Keith made the statement, that 99.9, you got that 0.1 every once in a while. Like I had that today. It was a Buick Encore with a 1.4 Ecotech. It was throwing knock sensor codes. Every once in a while when you start it up, you'd hear the timing chains rattle. And those are known for the bolts backing out on the timing chain tensioner or the guides. That was one of those 0.1s. You need to pull the valve cover off and verify that those bolts are tight because you can hear a little bit of timing chain rattle. So that's kind of that 0.1 where I'm charging you for my time today, but then I might have to come back out later and finish my diagnosis after you've pulled the valve cover and verified that the timing chains aren't slapping around. You guys want to go to Daryl's question?
Yeah, I saw that. The one where he addressed it to me.
Hold on.
Yeah, about money.
Yeah.
Daryl's in the chat. I got Daryl. The hat Daryl got me. There you go, buddy.
Daryl says, how much money do you feel would require to comfortably enter the mobile Diag route today? I'm working on building my kit better, but still feel like I've got a ways to go before 100% ready. Feel like going mobile is kind of like having a kid. You will never be 100% ready, but you got to just prepare 100%. For the best you can and make the leap.
And I will say Daryl's better prepared than than a lot of us going into it. I think you're ready, bud. From what you have now, obviously there's always going to be something you're going to need, and that's just the nature of the beast, especially being mobile and stuff. But to get going, man, you got the skill set and everything else. You just need to do it.
But if you can, save up money first.
That's have a cushion. Have a couple
that's what
months.
I was about to say. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that's kind of what his question was about the finances of it.
Oh yeah.
And I would say try and have a nest egg of 3 months, and you might never touch your nest egg because you might go out and hit the ground running and start making money and never touch it. But you could go 3 weeks with only making a couple $100 a week until you get shops that are calling you regularly. So you've got to have that money sitting there. And then also you've got to have the money for your overhead, because once you go out in the open, you've got to have your insurance, which you have to pay for. You're going to have money sitting there for any type of subscriptions that you have to pay for. And so you've got to have, I would say, at least 3 months of operating expenses of a business as well as your personal to make that leap.
Yeah, and I think 3 months is a good obviously more the better, but 3 months, at least 3 months saved up of living expenses, knowing that if not one shop calls, that you're going to be okay to pay the bills and everything. And honestly, that's 9 times out of 10 that's not going to happen. But like Brandon says, there are slower weeks. The last week for me was a slower week. And the calls that I did get, man, they just fought me everywhere, every which way possible. But then I get other weeks that it's just, man, I need to hire somebody. So it's really, you don't know what every single day is going to be. Obviously you can try planning ahead and appointments and everything else. But I mean, there's some shops that call at 3:00 and hey, I promise this today. Can you come program it? Oh crap. What do you do? If you can, I try to, cause I don't want to lose that shop, but it's hard at the same time. But yeah, 3 months is good.
For me, I didn't have that issue because I have the second job. I did have to save up 3 months worth of sleep though.
Because you guys never sleep, man.
Yeah.
I quite literally, I end up showering at work, at my other job, so that I can be changed and just go in the morning. What the heck was that?
Sorry.
I was watching something fly across the screen.
Yeah. I was trying to see, because you were talking about that, and I had
playback over there. And
yeah, I have my lowest week this week, so I was pulling up some sales reports, like how low was my lowest week ever? Because the whole state's frozen, shops are all closed. Parts. Yeah. Most of my collision centers told me they didn't get parts until today for the entire week. Was the first day parts stores were open, dealers were closed. I had like all the things that could go wrong. Normally, I had go wrong. The van behind me, the 19 battery went bad. Underhood battery took a dump. And the dealership was closed, so I couldn't warranty it. And the parts stores were closed, so I couldn't just go buy a battery. So that van was down. That's all that stuff. All that stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean, take this week as an example. Imagine if you live in Texas right now and you decide to go mobile.
Yeah, I'm in Oklahoma.
You cannot do. Yeah, you're screwed right now. Like that's where you have to have that money sitting there because
you do.
Ain't nobody doing anything in Texas right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, having the cushion takes a lot of pressure off. And I will say that, and I did put, I planned for this, so I did put money aside and everything. It's already stressful enough going out on your own. It adds a lot more stressors and everything else, knowing that this is your only income. It took me 2 years to finally pull the trigger, and that was having a nest egg, and it's still scary.
Yeah, so this week was
Sorry, I'm back.
less than half of my normal week by a lot. We did just enough to pay my technician's payroll, but not my payroll. But
Been there.
yeah, but we have 8 months of payroll saved, so
Nice.
that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's where that comes in handy for
Right.
sure.
Well,
Right.
I had, those weeks where like just everything flows just right.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't my week.
Right. So on top of this van battery dying, my personal truck, fuel gelled up, filters were gelled up, so the truck was stuck. I'm an idiot, so I burned the starter out of it, trying to get it started. I mean, I didn't overdo it. It was apparently there was an issue because it didn't take long to burn it up at all. But my 6.0 got a 6.4 starter upgrade.
Oh.
If you've never put a 6.4 starter in a 6.0 and you have a 6.0, definitely put a 6.4 starter in it when it goes. It's worth the extra $100.
That.
Yeah, buddy. What does it crank now? It's about 75 RPM more.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I was like, holy crap. It cranks up now. So that happened. The heater at my house doesn't keep up. So we had to run our fireplace as well as that because it literally was getting down in the low 60s and I had it set to 70 something. Never ever been a problem, but we've had over 2 weeks where it's been 20 was the highest and it's been in the deep negatives every morning. Coldest it's ever been in my lifetime here in Oklahoma. I lived in Colorado. The houses have a better heater than what mine has. So my ventless fireplace was going. Let's see, I had so many just crap things happen this week. My guy's nursing his broken arm. I'm finally getting my fingernail back from smashing my finger and breaking it. It's freezing cold, so we can't do any cars outside. It's just, the kids are out of school, so Liz has to be a mom and run the business. And I mean, it's all those things. All of those things. You got to think about all this stuff that is constantly a stressor on you.
How's your guy doing with his broken arm?
He got his cast off this week. So he's just doing physical therapy all the time, but he's doing, since we just do Diag and programming, it really hasn't affected him that much.
Oh, that's good.
Some of the under-dash jobs are no fun.
I want to answer a quick question. I see up there. I don't want to harp on it, but it's scrolling. And Automotive 911, it was addressed to me. How's your business listed for insurance in New York? They want me as a repair facility. I don't do repairs. Me and Cody had a long discussion about this. It's an issue. I think everywhere, but New York City is real rough because they don't allow mobile auto repair. But the buildings department doesn't allow it. I had to explain to them real quick. And again, I can only speak for New York. I had to explain to them. I don't do mobile repairs. I am a consultant. I do Diag and programming. I'm not jacking cars up. I'm not taking wheels off. I'm not working in the street. I only work business to business. So I'm always on another business's property. You literally got to explain it to them and have them walk into the underwriter's office and explain it to them that I'm not doing repairs. And I don't. I have a small 1/4-inch ratchet set, a couple screwdrivers, and a Leatherman tool.
The key word there is consultant. So if you guys are looking into it, the consultant is what changed the game for me to find insurance.
For those that don't know, that is my business name. Everybody sees SNA Auto, SNA Auto Repair. But the full name of my business, my legal business name is SNA Auto Repair Consultant Corp. I'm listed as a consultant because that is what I'm doing. And when you explain that to them, and you're not fibbing, you're not trying to get over on them. No. That is what I do. I don't do repairs. Yeah. I sit behind. I like not really, but sit there with a laptop and okay, just change that, and I leave, which is really kind of the simplest way to explain it to somebody that doesn't know what's going on.
Yep.
And then they understand. They say, okay, we'll insure you, and that's how it came back. Yeah. So if that answers that question, I don't want to harp on that one. And then the other one was
Sean Tipping had a good one.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Sean's was about intermittent issues. Do you
And that's a good question because I wonder what you guys do in this situation.
I scare them off.
Yeah.
It's by the hour, as long as it takes me this much an hour.
Correct.
And I'm good at it, so it might take me 2 instead of 9.
Right, and that's a learning curve. I'm still learning as far as, man, if I'm on it for 3.5 hours, just like being at that shop, I mean, I fully diagnosed it and everything, thinking it was, I start second guessing myself that, oh man, anybody else could figure this out in probably minutes. So I'm double checking everything and calling guys, networking and everything else. And everybody's like, nope, you did everything right. You did this, you did that. It's in the transmission, man. So that's
I usually, as soon as I suspect there's a problem, whether it me or not, I usually go talk to them and go, hey, I'm pretty sure I did everything I was supposed to do right. I think I'm going to go ahead and look at this one, but I need your permission first, because if I start looking into this and find that it's not something I did at all, unfortunately, you're going to owe me a diagnostic charge. So do you want me to go forward? But here's what I've done. Here's the, but I've built a rapport for a few years. I've got shops all kind of know, like, all right, he comes and flashes it and leaves and it's all done. So usually I tell him, hey, I think there's something up with this car. Do you want me to look at it? And then I have not had a situation yet where they said no, and then it turned out to be my fault. So, but that's a possibility. You got to be careful on that.
If they tell me it's an intermittent, we got this intermittent issue, I tell them straight up, you want to wait for it to become more permanent, or do you want me to pay, or you want to pay me by the hour while we try to wait for this? I mean, listen, so many intermittents through experience, right? You know how to make it happen again. We've seen it before. It's common with this vehicle, so you sometimes it is really just intermittent, and you sit and I usually tell them, listen, I'm gonna give it, I'll stop by in my area. A lot of times I'm literally passing by. I'll stop in, let me look at it for 5 minutes. At that point, we'll stop, we'll talk. If you want to pay me by the hour, I'll stay here 6 hours. If you want to have your guy driving around for a couple of days and make it more common, I got one now. I have a GM that comes into the shop every 4 weeks for a crank no start. They tow it in, and then all of a sudden it starts and runs. It's been back 3 times. Every time I go there, everything checks out. I've pulled and twisted on everything. I can't get it. And then when I did get it to do it, it only did it for about 60 seconds and started up, and then never did it again. Didn't trip any codes. I go, what do you want to do with this? You want to pay me by the hour, or do you want to? It's a tough nut. I get it. But
I usually let my shops know, like if they call me and they're like, hey, I've got this intermittent issue, I let them know, look, I show up, you're getting charged my show up fee. So my initial fee, if I'm coming out there, and if I can't find anything in that first hour, then either A, we're just going to wait till it gets worse, or B, you're going to keep paying me to sit here and twiddle my thumbs till we can get that issue, because my business is no different than his business where he's got to be making the money. So if I'm going to be sitting there twiddling my thumbs, hoping that an intermittent issue is going to start working, then they're going to be paying. And usually whenever you tell them that the fee is going to be up front, like, hey, you are getting paid my initial fee no matter what, most of the time the intermittent issue is not that bad of an issue after they find out that they're going to have to get charged for it at first.
Yeah, I agree. But I don't get many intermittents because I just tell them, like, it's going to, as long as it takes me to do it. You can, if you want, you can okay up to 3 or 4 hours with the customer. You're going to, it's me. You guys use me. It might take me an hour, it might take me 2. I might get 4 and not be able to replicate it. Just whatever you can afford, or get okay with the customer, or talk to them, whatever you want to do. And then 90% of the time they don't call back about it.
And that's definitely something I know that I struggle with, and I need to work on, because it's hard to not give them an answer and to be like, hey, I need this. It's rough, but that's part of running a business, and that's things that I knew that I was going to struggle with, that I know that I need to work on.
Yeah.
I still have shops that think my initial Diag fee, which includes the first hour, they think that's just a flat rate because I'm usually out within an hour.
Right.
Or an hour and 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I only charge them now. I'm not going to bang them for a second hour for an extra 10 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
But I've had them go, but I thought it was this amount of, when I go in the next time, it takes me 2 hours. And and I give them the, I tell them how much, and they go, well, I thought it was, what happened to the other? I go, that's for the first hour. Oh, but it's always been that amount. That's what, and then they go, that's what DeFazio always charged. I go, yeah, because usually we're out within an hour.
Yeah, it
Sometimes
happens.
it's a little longer. Again, that's a communication issue that's my fault. I need it to be more clear.
Yeah, I still have shops, same thing. They think it's a flat rate just because I've never had to charge more than my initial fee.
Right.
We've got, what is your view on OEM tooling versus a Cardac 3? I was considering an initial investment of the Cardac 3, an Autologic Drive Pro ES, an Autel IM608, Ford VCM3 with IDS 1 year, GM MDI, YTech 2, just to get started, and then add OEM tools as I get rolling. You can afford all that. Go for it.
So let me just say one thing, and Corey is the one that kind of, he slapped my wrist when I was looking at going mobile, because I was telling him, hey, look, I just bought the micropod, I just got this, I just got this, and he's like, what the heck are you doing, man? Slow down.
Yeah.
Here, I think I need everything, and he's like, slow down. And micropod, for example, yes, I paid $1,800 for it. I love the tool, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't get rid of it, but if I could go back in time, I would spend that money on a Cardac that I could service more vehicles than just one Jeep, Chrysler, FCA. So my money would have gone farther if I just would have listened to Corey, but I just get so gung-ho that, man, I need all this stuff. Just slow down,
So I feel like there's one useless tool in there.
What's that?
The MDI2.
The MDI2?
I don't own one. I never have. I've not seen a single limitation with the Cardac over the MDI with GM. Yep.
Yes, Corey. Yes, 100%.
So I was told by one of my locksmith friends that they are running into limitations on 2021 GM key programming, not having an MDI2, but I have not verified that myself with the VCM3 yet. But that's my primary Jbox.
And I wouldn't think there would be, because the Cardac has more protocols than even the MDI2. The MDI2 is a rather old device.
Yeah, so they're saying the MDI2, and we could not verify if any of them had tried with the VCM3, but
which
the
is the
VCM3
same hardware. Yeah. I have the new Bosch Master Tech 2, which is also the same hardware as the MDI2 and the VCM3.
And you and I also proved that day.
Mess with the firmware.
Well, and then when we were trying to do YTech with the VCM3 versus your Bosch, even though they're the same device, the Bosch worked and the VCM3 did not for YTech. But I think that has since been corrected since we filed that SIR. I think they actually fixed it because of that.
Yeah. They're the same Bosch part number. MTS 6531. Yeah, Bosch MTS 6531.
That's good to know.
That's the Bosch number. They each have different. One has a Rotunda number and comes in a red box and has different firmware. And then the Bosch comes with Bosch software off their website, and then the GM MDI2 has separate firmware again and different part number with GM. But the Bosch part number is the same. So if anyone wants to say, oh, well, they do XYZ to it, like that they very well may do something like that, but they have the same part number on the freaking box, on the device. Oh, we lose.
Corey took his picture off.
Okay, it just rearranged everybody when he did that.
Yeah, right.
Oh, sorry, I was going to change my background.
Yeah, it's rearranged every time somebody messes with it. But
I want to touch on Michael Nicholson's statement where he was
figuratively,
that,
right? Not literally touch him.
Yes,
okay.
yes, figuratively. So for me personally, I would not want the customer to know that I'm there. And the reason I say me personally is I have a lot of shops that are like, oh, this guy's here. Here's his phone number. Call him.
Yep.
And if the customer knows that you're there, they're going to want to talk to you. And then all of a sudden now you're dealing directly with the customer. And as the business that most mobile guys run, you don't want to deal with the customer because it just adds more to what you're there to do. So I try and stay away from ever speaking to a customer unless it is 100%
Agreed.
necessary. And the customer just happens to walk up on me while I'm diagging the car. I try because you're there to help out the shop. So if the customer knows that somebody else is there looking at it, then they look at the shop like, how come you couldn't fix it? And it looks bad on the shop sometimes. And then now you're also having to act as a service advisor to a customer that you don't want to speak to.
And they start asking hard questions like, how much does this cost?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I just put out I double my number and tell them.
That's me.
Yeah.
Well, anytime an individual asks me, it is double the price of whatever I charge a shop. I do that.
I never say a number. Nope.
Well,
I says I have an arrangement. I have an arrangement with the shop that doesn't include just this one car.
Yeah.
You have to work it out with them.
That's a good one. I usually just tell them, I'm really expensive. I'm usually like this much. Like, oh, well, they're only charged me. I was like, yeah, well, they're probably trying to help you out.
Yep.
And then I
like that. That's like when people ask me how old I am. I tell them I'm like 70. So they go, wow, you look great for your age.
Yeah, that's right.
You do, Corey.
But yeah, no, I have shops that they've told me that, yeah, I told the customer I had to call somebody in to look at it. So we have a day or two. So I have shops that I know they tell the customer that they call somebody. In fact, I had a shop that had a customer and the guy, and he said, yeah, I got to call somebody in. And the guy goes, oh, you're going to call Corey in? So even the customer, and I don't even know the customer. That's the best.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, I had to put a foot up one of my shop's butts. It was one of my better ones, but they were literally giving my cell phone to their customers, and I would start getting phone calls, and I'm like, "Where'd you get it?" Oh, so and so, and I had to threaten that shop that I will not come back to you if you give my phone number out again. And
same situation.
Cody had that issue.
Yep. Yeah, I thought I was gonna have to fire that. I thought I was gonna have to fire the shop, and it is one of my better shops. And it was the only vehicle that I've actually had to turn away, and it was a 2012 Porsche Panamera. That, man, it just, I had 8 hours into it, and I was just like, man, I performed services on it. It had multiple issues. It's an auction vehicle. I just had to wash my hands because I was getting backed up and everything else. I told him, look, it needs to go to the dealership to get these calibrations and stuff done. The Autel, the iScan, or not Autel, the AutoLogic, the iScan, none of the tools could do it. So I told the shop it needs to go to the dealership. Well, he hands them my number, and then they're calling me saying I need to come fix the car when I just told them, it needs to go to the dealership. Then they're asking me why I charged X amount of dollars, and I'm like, I didn't charge that. Like, that's charged you for a service that I did perform, but this has multiple issues. And I had to end up blocking them and everything else. And I called the shop, and I was like, look, this happened. This is your final warning. Like, this is your one and only chance. If this happens again, I'm not coming to your shop again. And it actually took me a couple of days of him calling to be like, please, I need you, for me to be okay. I'm going to show up because I have stickers on my vehicle and everything else. This guy's threatening me. And it just didn't sit good with me. And this is the south side of town, which if anybody knows south side of Tucson, I don't go to that side of town unless you're carrying and stuff, because it's not a good place of town. So, I was like, I'm not doing this, man.
Part of running, like, when you have an auto repair business, when you're a shop, you calculate in to your day, to your billing time, that you're going to have to greet the customer, listen to the customer's complaints, bring the car in, do the estimate, test drive, call the parts store, get your estimates together, call the customer, get approval for the job, do the job, and then re-greet the customer when it's pickup time and re-explain the bill. So all of that time is figured in to what you have to do. As mobile, for me, and I think for most of us, I don't want to talk to the customer, not because I don't like the customer. Yes. It's not budgeted into again, here goes time management. It's not my time to sit there and have to teach the customer. The shop knows, I don't have to teach the shop. The shop knows why they called me. I'm going in, they know I'm going to do what I got to do, and then I'm just getting out.
Yeah.
I'm going to handle a bill. This is what I did this thing here and it's done. And, or you got to replace this. I got to go.
Yeah.
And that's
okay,
it.
So,
no question,
doing like a D1 form, Corey.
Doing a D1 form, it's not being rude. It's not being rude that I don't want to talk to the customer. That's your job as a shop. You take
Yep.
care of that end. If we're
Yep.
both talking to the customer, then we're all losing. We're all wasting time.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've had to. We get walk-in customers that call us multiple times a day. We field somewhere between 70 to 100 plus phone calls a day. I say we. Liz filled somewhere between 70 and 100 phone calls a day. Been slow this week, but I would say probably 4 or 5 of those a day are somebody that found us on the internet that wants to know if we'll come look at their car in their driveway. And we just tell them, we don't do that. I'm sorry, and they want to know why. It's like, look, most people have a problem with the fact that we come in, we charge hundreds of dollars to tell you what's wrong, and we leave and the car's still broke. And that's what will
And
happen.
my insurance won't cover me working in your driveway.
Yep.
Which is legit. It won't.
No, it
I
is.
can lie.
It is.
And if the cops come down, and DeFazio will tell you this because he's dealt with it. I haven't personally dealt with it, but he had it happen to him where the cops will pull over and go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
"I'm working on a car." You can't do that in the street.
Yeah. We just tell them, like, look, a lot of times when we're diagnosed, something's got to be put on a lift, parts have to be pulled off, and we have a technician at the shop do that. So, unfortunately, if you don't have a lift and you don't have a technician there, then, between that and the fact we're going to leave and the car's still going to be broke, and you're not going to be happy about it, and you're going to owe us hundreds of dollars. And we just say that every time, just to scare them off, really.
Yeah.
But what I was going to get at is I have a short example of, like, what you were talking about with a customer. I have one Google review that's negative. Okay? I have like 5 Google reviews total because shops don't leave Google reviews. I had a good shop of mine call me and go, "Hey, can you come just program a key for this Dakota?" They're like, "We already got it. It's just, it came with the car from the car lot. Can you just come program?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can try. Just, be aware. I'm not supplying the key." And I normally don't do that, but this is a good shop of mine. They have like 5 locations in Tulsa, and I do a lot of work for them. But sure, so I show up there, and I go in, and I go, "Hey, here to do that key." And then a guy gets up from the office or from out in the waiting area and comes over and goes, "Yeah, it's for me. Here's the key. It came with the car. Just needs the remote programmed." And it was a Chrysler skim key, the triangle head skim key. And this was like an old 4 or 5 Dakota. And I was like, "All right, they let you know that, this, I'm not supplying a key, so I can't really be liable if there's a problem." Yeah, no problem. So I cut the key and program it, and it doesn't program. And it's because this is a skim key, and this truck has no skim. It's not a skim car. It's got a remote control door lock receiver-ish thing for Chrysler. This skim key is never going to work to lock and unlock it. So I was like, "Sorry, man. I'll tell you how much money I charged this guy. I charged this guy $60 because I felt bad. And that's less than half of my minimum charge normally. And I was just like, "Man, I'm sorry, I feel bad. I only charged $60. The dude left the Google review and said I was an hour late. I'm like, "I don't tell anyone a time when I show up. You're on my list. I show up when I show up. I don't give anyone times." And
that's a good idea.
we don't work on customer vehicles. And I mean, he left me like a 1-star review saying I was late, and I charged him even though it didn't work, and all these things. And I was like, I just politely put that, like, "Hey, I don't give time. Sorry, I was late." I actually didn't even give an excuse. I just said, "Sorry, I was late," because it's not worth explaining. Yeah. So I just did that, and I was like, "Unfortunately, I didn't supply the key. Someone else gave you the wrong key, and it didn't work. And this is why we don't work on customer vehicles." That's literally what my response to his review says. Like, we literally don't work on customers' vehicles because of this right here. And that is like the only, and I chewed one side and down the other of that shop. I was like, "Don't ever call me out to work on something and then have me deal with the customer," because I had to give the customer the invoice because he was paying. So then he had my name and my business, and he found me on Google, and I would much rather have been like, I probably should have just gave him his key back and said, "Please don't ever call me again," and left, and not giving him an invoice or nothing. I'd have been better off.
I got one funny. I'll tell one funny customer story, and then we can go on to whatever else.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions.
I was on the phone with Isaac during some of this, so he can confirm this. I was diagnosing it was a Ford Escape with a charging issue, and the customer was there and kept walking in and out of the shop, talking. Customer went into the bathroom, shot up heroin, came out, started flipping out on everybody in the shop, threatened to shoot me and all sorts of stuff because they knew that I was there working on their car and I wasn't part of the shop, and then threatened to sue me. It was a freaking horrible day. But shot up heroin in the store and then came out there and started cussing me up and down because I didn't work at that shop. And I was just like, this right here is why I do not want to ever deal with customers.
And here I am trying to open up a brick and mortar to work on customer card.
Hopefully they don't shoot up heroin in the bathroom like this one.
Yeah, no. Sorry, we don't have a bathroom. We pee in the creek out back. This is Oklahoma. Somebody brought up a question real quick. I was going to address Gary Mears about why we don't use virtual machines. Most softwares have started blocking virtual machine stuff, and just because I don't know when they're going to change something, it's much easier to partition because it's not virtually a different machine. It's software-wise totally different machine. So just apparently he's got somebody doesn't like the answer he gave him or whatever. All of us, for the most part, are not using virtual machines because they don't work well for what we're trying to do. They do work for some. Isaac has some virtual machine stuff he set up. There's a time and place for them, but overall, it's much more stable to just use different partitions or different laptops. And then we've got, I guess technically one more question from the list of them is, best way to build clientele in your area? Just got on the road and is it just get on the road and start talking to shop owners and managers?
Yes, 100%.
Obviously, the best thing to do is provide amazing service and get word of mouth. We all know that. Everyone knows that's the best way to do it. But to start out, yeah, I just left after I got fired, got in my truck, drove to the closest shop, said, hey, here's my card. Call me if you need any Diag or programming. I'm doing this in the area, just thought I'd let you know. And then usually try to ask them open questions. What do you guys use for Diag equipment? And they'd be like, oh man, it's a great piece of equipment. I've got a bunch of OE tools to fill in the gaps when you have troubles. Just ask them, what do they use for Diag equipment? Compliment it and tell them, that's awesome. I've got one also. I got a bunch of OE tools as well. That way I can fill in all the gaps. And then have a good day. Don't try to waste a bunch of their time. Don't try to do a big sales pitch, for shop owners. They don't care.
And that's, you're not technically lying to them, because if you have a J2534, you're using OE software.
Absolutely.
So it's not like you're lying to the customer that you legit have OE stuff. So there's no lying whenever you say that you've got OE.
Yep.
Isaac made fun of me whenever I first started, saying that I needed to go get somebody to actually design them. But for me, I just printed up a bunch of flyers from my personal computer, listing everything that I did. And whenever I first went mobile, I printed those up. Each one of them had my card on it. It was the flyer, what I do, and then a 50% coupon for my first service at that shop. And that was, I knew I was going to be losing money on it, but that was just to get my foot in the door at the shop, so that way they can see what my service is about, what I can do for them as a business, and carry on from there. And so I think I handed out maybe 50 of those, and within the first probably week, I handed about 50, got a lot of them to call me back in there, use that coupon, and I've been doing it ever since. So whatever you can do to get your foot in the door at the shop, your initial time, typically they will call you back. Even whenever they say, we probably won't ever call you, they're going to call you within a week to 2 weeks, because they realize that they need some help with something. And then they're going to be like, well, hell, that made my life way easier. And then you're going to start going to that shop more often.
And don't get butthurt.
Do a good job.
Yeah, don't get butthurt when they tell you, we don't ever need you, we don't ever send anybody. I'd never forget when someone, bad mouths me to my face or whatever and says that we would never need you, we figure everything out on our own. I always know, like, oh, okay. It depends. There are some shops that are really, really fantastic with great guys, but you usually know when you walk in, or if you're working in that area and you've been there a long time, you know about which shops are really great. So I have two very specific memories of going in, like in my first couple weeks, because I just hit every shop in town, and them telling me they'd never need me, and and literally like throwing my card away. And I can tell you, in the last 2 years, both of those shops have called me because they heard about me from word of mouth, and I go in and I found something really, really terrible. Usually something that they should, one of those things where they've spent weeks on the car, and it's like, oh, well, just broke wire. We'll do that if you knew how to use a voltmeter or a scope or whatever.
So for myself, same kind of thing. I made up flyers, and I don't know if you guys are going to see it because the green screen and stuff. So I just went on to Vistaprint, made up flyers, and so flyers. I handed out my business card, and then I also bought some magnet stuff too that just has my basic information, number and everything else that they can throw on a toolbox or whatever. Went on to Vistaprint. I think I paid like $120 for all this stuff. And there's a lot of shops I'd go into and say, these are the services I offer and stuff. We don't need you. We have the wrap system. Okay, but I'll still, but I still leave a card.
Yep.
Or the flyer and everything else, and they've called me. So when you, just like Keith and Brandon and stuff are saying that you think that they're not going to use you, still leave those cards, like, hey, just in case if anything changes, whatever it is, maybe hold on to it, just whatever, or we have 3 other programmers or whatever it is, that they're gonna run into an issue and they're gonna run out of resources. So that being said, just it's going into shops and just giving them the information and everything and what they, you'll be getting calls. So in the wrap systems, that's one shop that I went into was a transmission shop. He just bought the wrap system, asked him how he liked it. He's like, oh, the first time using it. And, he had nothing but issues. He tried to program on a Saturday, set up the appointment. They weren't open, blah, 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 nothing but issues. So it's situations like that. Is the wrap system good for some shops? Yeah, I'd say it's okay. But there's going to be times you're going to need the actual programmer there.
Wrap won't do anything that's ESP.
Yep.
They won't even do it.
And they won't do used either, right?
Even do it, even if you have a VSP.
Well, if you bought a wrap, you don't have a VSP.
Oh,
think about it.
But
there might be a shop out there. They probably would if you had a VSP, because AutoLogic will do things.
Okay, that's what I was.
They do because one of the shops that I was at, we had a VSP, and they bought the Drive Pro to use as the wrap, and so anytime we needed something, we would give our shop VSP. I would say definitely on top of all of the going in there explaining, do not walk in there like your thing is bigger than theirs and it just flops all over the place. You want to go in there as humble as you can be and just as polite as you can be and just talk. Don't go in there cocky like I can diagnose everything and program everything. Go in there polite. We'll never use you. I fully understand that. Thanks for your time, and just leave the card and walk out. You have to go in there polite, and you have to go in there as respectful as you can, because if you're wanting to go mobile, that means that you're starting a business, and being a business owner is different than being that technician out back saying whatever you want to say. Now you've got face in front of it, and you've got to be polite about it.
And Keith says it best. Stay humble. I don't care how great you think you are. This industry and going mobile is going to humble you. Brandon nails it and stuff too. It's hard not to get frustrated when shops are like, you didn't even do anything, and it's like you don't understand.
You just don't get it.
I think there's 3 phases every tech goes through. In the beginning, when you're starting out, you go, I know nothing. And then your ego gets the best of you. You're like, I know everything. And then you get a little better and you go, all right, I really don't know anything.
Yeah. that's the 3 phases I went through.
Well, it's like going through adolescence all over again, right?
I'm thankful I'm in the phase where I know I don't know everything, and I enjoy wanting to learn every day, even when it kicks my butt.
See, I knew you were in your 20s.
Bingo. I'm celebrating. Yeah, this actually next. What's today? I don't know. Next week actually. I celebrate another anniversary of I won't say which one. Another anniversary of my 30th birthday.
Yeah, I tell my wife which anniversary of her 20th.
Me too.
I told my wife, I'm like, this is your 13th annual 20th birthday.
I'm going to jump back on real quick. But Jay, the welding junkie, made a comment. Said most shop owners know each other, and they'll refer you. Most of my stuff at this point, we all know how it started for me with DeFazio. I want to say Keith because then we get the Keiths confused.
Yeah,
DeFazio running the island the way he did, and made a phenomenal thing for himself, reputation. So when he left and he went, okay, clear your phone, it's going to start ringing because I'm forwarding all my calls to you. But from that point, yes, I get shops that tell me, hey, I got your number from so-and-so down the street, and the body shop on the other side of the island uses you, and they give me a number and blah, blah, blah. And there's still shops I haven't even gone into and given them my card because Staten Island, we all know Staten Island is unique. And there's a lot of shops. There's shops I haven't gone into yet, giving them my card because I can't handle their business anyway, and I don't want to do that.
Hey, every shop that I go to, I pass 4 or 5 that I've never been to. Every single day. I mean, I have 175 customers in my database, and there are over 600 repair facilities in the area that I service.
And in the spirit of time management, you pass by that shop, and you go, I need to stop in there, and you go, not now.
Yep. And that's happened for
I
years.
run into that.
It never like, I swear one of these days I'm going to get caught up with like classes I'm writing and everything and be like, I'm going to take this week and go to every shop, and I'm just not going to take jobs for any of the days and let Zach and Liz run it, and I'm not going to help in a van, and they're going to figure it out.
That's great.
I'd really like to.
Isaac. I just realized Isaac's up there finally. Hi, buddy.
There he is.
So,
I don't see him on my phone. I see him on the screen.
So word of mouth can work both ways, though. Like I got one shop that blasted me to every shop in the surrounding area because I would not give them a discounted price, and so they started telling all the shops that how dare you guys are using Jarhead Diagnostics. God, those guys suck. All because I wouldn't go in cheaper than the dealership, and it's like, I apologize. I'm giving you a service, and so now I've had 6 shops tell me that this guy was running his mouth about me just because I wouldn't give him a discount. Yeah. And I still hear, this was from 6 months ago, and I still hear shops complain or tell me that.
Well, you don't want that guy anyway as a customer. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
No, I do.
One thing I have to say about that is positive perspective. So one thing that has kept me through anything and leaving jobs or whatever is positive perspective. And so no matter what the situation is, find the positive in it. If it's a shop that you're having a hard time with or whatever, take it as a learning experience and take anything. Like today, my last job, I was late today coming onto this because I told you guys I bricked the Nissan on my way here. I was running late. It's Friday. I don't work for WorldPack today, so I was catching up on some other stuff, and I went late and went to a shop that's out here, Rule, and they were out there working on the race cars on Friday night. So I was like, yeah, they were like, cool, come on late. Come there, and Nissan consult right to repair, download the file, 90%, and consult just crashed. As there it goes, and about 20 seconds later, the engine fans came on. And I was, oh. But that's the reality of it. But I was sitting there, and the owner was standing there with me, and we watched consult crash together, and I was just like, I was talking to her for a second. I was like, when the radiator fans came, I was like, give me a minute to see if there's no VIN. I'm going to try and bench it, and we'll go from there. And, I'm going to eat this module no matter what happens. It's no big deal. That's it. I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to learn from it. And now I'll probably suck it up, and I'm going to call ILM on Monday. I'm going to buy a new Nissan VCI and move on from there.
Yeah.
Hey, Isaac, you jinxed it. You know that, right?
I know I did. Well, I was talking shit on the Nissan as I walked in the building. I was like, well, if that thing's going to ruin your Friday night, it's going to be an Infinity-based Rogue.
Yeah.
But on that 14 Sentra earlier in the week that I had to do an update. I had to flash it for PO 101, and even though I have nerves, I was going to use the R2R, and I ended up having a problem. And Isaac, you said, I've been using it. I haven't had a single problem with R2R. It works great on everything.
That's what I just told Keith. Like I texted Keith and I was like, "Hey, dude, so I think I just bricked this. I might be a little bit late." And he's like, "Yeah, I've been having some problems with the R2R." And I was like, "Man, this is my first problem."
I gave up on it.
I'm at that point. If I absolutely don't have to use R2R, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I gave up on it. I mean, I have a consult in my van, but there's 3 of us. So, and everyone else already has a Cardac. So I was like, hey, at $30 a pop, it's easy to do R2R. So I was like, I'm not going to buy any more consult devices. And
I'll tell you what,
yeah.
I think that was my issue with that 16 Rogue using the console.
Yeah. It's R2R is so everyone listening, R2R is broke. Don't use it. I don't know when it'll be unbroken. I don't know if I can ever trust it now.
R2R works great for CVTs.
Yeah.
And I think it's the backward compatibility issue.
Yeah. It was an afterthought. Hey, we're going to take our old software and make it work with this Jbox platform that it was never designed for. So, because I want to nerd out and I want everyone to know why, The reasons why Nissan and Chrysler are so terrible with Jboxes is because both of those tools, the architecture of the car's network was designed to where the software goes from the laptop to the tool, and then the tool does the flashing. And a J2534 device, by design, is a pass-through. Nothing stops in the tool. So they had to completely rewrite the entire architecture of the tooling to make it work with a car that was never designed to work that way. So because Chrysler and Nissan both did it that way, the J2534 versions of them were kind of hinky. Okay, so sorry. I don't blame them.
Well, and the other nice side of that too, though, is like legacy Chrysler, you can make stuff work.
Yep, and Nissan.
There are some advantages to it. Nissan, you can make stuff work. Like, we'll play around and we'll try and recover this module tomorrow. Like, I'm sure there'll be some messages going back and forth.
Yep.
It'll be fun. And then if it ends up being a paperweight, it'll go in the collection of paperweights that happen. This will be the first module that I've bricked on a car in a couple years. The last one that I bricked was hilarious because I hooked up a different power supply to see, man, why does my desktop power computer supply unit just keep turning off? Well, it's because you pinned it wrong, you dumbass. And then I bricked it by hooking it up to a power supply that would not shut off if it was shorted.
With no circuit protection.
Let's see what this Schumacher will do with it. It works on the cars. Well, It'll throw 100 amps to it.
Yeah. You effectively created a smoke machine.
I found everything Lucas Electronics had planned for my future.
Yeah.
Well, now, has anybody figured out how to put the smoke back in?
No.
I'm still no. Oh, damn.
No, you got to patch it up with the sparks and put it back into the package.
Oh, okay.
The electron flush.
Drew's up here. Hi, Drew.
What's up, Drew?
Brian says, are you saying don't do Nissan with a J-Box or just some years? I'm saying use NERS or use Consult 3 Plus with the Consult VI. That's what I'm saying.
Or what about 18 Plus with the R2R like it was designed?
I don't know. I stopped using it because it was problems. But I never had a problem with a new one, so I don't know.
Well, we'll find out. I'm doing a 19 Altima TCM on Monday.
I lose faith in software really quickly. When I start having problems, I give up. Like IDS, I was like, well, we're going to force scan everything until we have to.
Seriously. And I used to be I used to love not Forescan. I used to love IDS, and I just don't have confidence in it anymore.
Yeah, since version 113, I'm just like, oh, we got to do keys? Like, let me grab the IM. Hold on.
Oh, dude, in 116, I feel like 116 is when it started to go really downhill. I don't know. 120's been pretty good to me. I haven't.
I'm still 120.01.
Connect.
I'm still FJDS.
So am I.
I am 3 VCMs deep at this point.
God, yeah.
No,
I have
4.
like a small collection of VCM2s, and then I buy the VCM3 is my primary J-Box because I have found it to be very stable.
It's fast.
It's fast. It's wireless. I can do it from the comfort of my heated front seat in my service truck.
Heated seats in your service truck? Oh, fancy.
Dude, it's my Jeep, man. Come on.
I know.
The Sprinters, look, I bought the Sprinters in October. Haven't worked on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, from the advice of a friend of ours here, I'll probably be switching to IDS in the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
When I get my VCM.
Mm-hmm.
Heyo.
When we close out the chat, I'll tell you guys.
and along with the an ICOM.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, ICOM is where it's at. There's no point in doing a BMW without an ICOM.
Well,
the ICOM,
I autologic everything until I have to do an ICOM.
Well, that's yeah. I mean but I mean J-Box versus ICOM.
Oh yeah, no. I will not ever just use I won't use a J-Box for BMW. Period. I'll use an Autologic, my iScan, and then ICOM.
Yeah, Seth and Justin have done a great job of directing me away from anything to ever do with.
Well, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's fine as long as it's not an F or a G car." I'm like, I still don't want to do an hour and 45-minute programming. Yeah, like I could do it with Autologic in 15 minutes, or I can do it with ICOM in like 30. It'll be an hour with ICOM if I have to update software. But I mean,
And so, wait, and talk about ignorance is bliss. How about a few months back, I did an F body ABS module with my Autel.
yeah,
and
lucky dog.
Everybody go, don't do that.
Yeah,
I said, fun. It worked. They're like, wow, you have no idea how lucky you are. And then afterwards, I found out how lucky I actually was that it worked.
Yeah, yeah.
Oops.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. But it is what it is.
I'm surprised there's not more hate for Opus here. Every time I mention something about it, half the people hate it. Like, look, I'm sorry that it's not as great as it used to be in its glory days, but cars have gotten complicated, and it saves me a crap ton of time on BMW and Land Rover.
Dude,
Now, what about if you had to choose one or the other, the iScan or the DrewTech?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I know, yes, but if you had to choose one out of the two, because the iScan offers remote programming.
Yeah, the
right?
SOD. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's so hard. So the only reason why I will say it's difficult is because I've had 2 cars with used BMW modules that the iScan did and the Autologic wouldn't. But my Autologic is my first grab every time. I like the navigation of it way more than iScan. I have an iScan 3, I've got a blue box, and I have a Drive Pro. I mean, I've used an iScan 2 for years. I'm very familiar with all of their offerings, and I couldn't do without either of them at this point. I use them both, but I guess if I had to pick one, it would be the Autologic over the iScan. But it's because I'm underusing the iScan.
Yeah.
I am.
I haven't utilized the iScan to its full potential, with the SOD and everything else.
As a mobile guy, SOD's hard.
Yeah.
Because I don't have time to submit a request and wait for, somebody with a Reels entry on the other end to help me out. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Because I'm in that.
And just get back on the LSID for a second. I had an issue the other day. And this is not, I'm not pointing a finger at anybody's fault. What the system is a little convoluted. I called Autologic to get help with a Volkswagen used steering column was put in a Jetta.
Yeah, so you need your SVM.
I needed assistance. And no problem. I got my LSID. I put in the ticket. The guy calls me up and says, we have a problem. The paperwork's got to be in first. I go, what do you mean first? I have 7 days to submit. They go, no, not with Volkswagen, not today, not with this car. It has to be done first. And I'm sitting there. I got 100-foot of Cat5 cable strung across this guy's shop into the office, plugged in. I'm in his router. I'm set up. My maintainer's on. I'm ready to rock and roll. He's going, no, we have to paperwork first. Because apparently the process
just changed
about 8 times over the last 2 months. And even he said, I apologize. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
It's just the way it is right now. They're going to change it again. But right now, I need to send you all the forms. Customers got to sign it. I need copies of the driver's license, the registration, and like the owner of the car is not even there. And I'm getting the shop owner's calling the owner of the car. He's taking a picture of his license, sending it to me. I'm forwarding my emails to the secretary so she can print them out so I can get the owner to sign them. It was a nightmare. And then he calls me back. He goes, I also need the tech's LSID. Whatever tech is working on this car, I need his LSID. I go, I'm the tech working on the car. I am. It's me. Okay, I need a copy of your driver's license. I go, you have my LSID. Nope, need a copy of the license too. So back and forth with emails and waiting, and then it's got to go through a review process, which takes about 45 minutes. And problem being a mobile, I can't go work on something else. There's nothing else there. I literally sat there like this.
Mm-hmm.
What do? Do I leave? Do I try to come back in a couple hours? I'm set up. I'm stuck. I'm literally stuck. I got to wait for them to do the review, and I'm emailing him. Is he done reviewing this thing? I got to rock and roll here. Finally, he gets the okay. He calls me up. He remotes in. We get this thing done. Blah, blah, blah. And then ran into other problems. So it turned out the key was bad. On the used column, we had to get the original lock with the original key. And I want to program it with my IM's 508.
Yeah. If it's not a Kessie car, if it's not a push-button start with Volkswagen, IM does great for keys. If it's a push-button start car, you better use Otis with a factory key, or you going to eat an instrument panel cluster.
Yes. And I ran into the other day, just as a footnote, I'm going to throw this in there, on a 2011 F350. Autel won't do a parameter reset.
Nope.
I don't know why.
Oh, what year?
11.
2011 F350.
Because it listed as module resync, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a parameter.
It says communication not.
It says complete. It says complete. Does not do it. The 908 didn't do it. The 508 didn't do it, and the Elite didn't do it.
Oh.
Launch did it. The launch did it.
Yeah.
It said completed. It was not complete. All kinds of issues. We want to put an original BCM back in this car, and because I thought it was a BCM issue, and it turned out no, it was a tool issue. Hotel didn't do it.
Yeah.
But getting back to the beginning of this thing, when the beginning of this live stream, when somebody said which tools, all of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. And I will say about the iScan, I did have one hiccup with it. I can't say the iScan is faultless because I had a late model Volkswagen, and I really didn't want to boot up Otis. Is really what I have yearly Otis. I buy it yearly with I buy Audi and Volkswagen's $1,800 for both for a year. And if you charge Euro like most people charge Euro, you can make that up in, per manufacturer doing 4 in a year, And I do a lot. A lot of Volkswagen and Audi. And I don't do a lot of Euro, but I don't consider Volkswagen Audi Euro because I see so many of them. I just do. And so that's where I'll go with that, is that like the iScan didn't even talk to the headlight modules. Like, I had a headlight fault in the dash, and I did a scan. I got a clear scan. I'm like, man, this is weird. I was like, well, let me scroll through and see if I can go into the module and see where's the module at? Couldn't find it. Grab a $900 Amazon Chinese launch tool, talks to the headlight modules, gives me codes. I'm like, God dang it. So submitted to iScan, and they fixed it. But, I mean, it was just, you got to have them all. It's like Pokemon.
Yep. I spent hours with the iScan and the AutoLogic trying to calibrate that 2012 Porsche Panamera for the electronic parking brakes.
Porsche is another animal.
Yeah, no, and fail. I'm grabbing the tools that should be, that are Europeans, strong suited.
Yeah.
And still fail. And man, I'm just about to give up. I mean, I'm spending hours on this. And I was like, okay, let me just try the Chinese X431. Second try. The $800 tool did it.
Yep.
I'm like, I would have never,
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're all, you got to have them all. I mean, it just, so, but I kind of like suit them for what we're doing. Like if I'm going to go to a Volkswagen, I usually just boot up Audi now, Otis. So everyone, I have people gripe all the time, oh, Autologic's terrible in Volkswagen. I was like, I have no clue. I don't ever hook it up to a Volkswagen, ever. I have no idea if it works or not. I use it for Land Rover and BMW all the time. When I go to a Mercedes, I usually use Autel because I like the way that it's set up better when it's scanning through the modules. I like using Autel and Mercedes. I just don't use the iScan for much. And I should. It's a great tool, and it's awesome. I'm more comfortable with the Autologic because I've had them for so long that I can navigate it much faster.
That's one of my next purchases. It's either going to be the iScan or the Autologic, mainly for Euro. And because I've got Autel, but that's not, I wouldn't necessarily say Euro, you know what I mean? So,
right.
So that's why I want to get into the Euro market a little bit. That's why
I will say, if you're not super familiar with it, the subscription to Autologic to the Opus IVS is 100% worth it. I use it all the time. I submit a ticket at least twice a week. At least twice a week, I submit a ticket and go, can I do this?
Yep.
I just, like, it's not like I need help figuring this out. It's mostly like, I had a Porsche. They wanted me to code an active grille shutter on one, but it was an hour away. So I was like, oh, crap, it's a really good customer an hour away. And I was like, well, this would be a good job if I could do it. I was like, so before I drive an hour and a half or an hour one way, I'll submit a ticket and see if I can do it. So I just submitted a ticket and was like, hey, I have all these tools. And he got back to me and he was like, man, I don't know. Maybe the iScan will do it. He goes, and he said, let me call Eric. So Autologic called iScan for me and found out. And he was like, no, man, we can't do it. He's like, might be able to SOD it or something, but you're going to have to go out there and submit the ticket and go. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
Actually, I stole that idea from you. I've called them several times just to go, hey, I'm not even at the car.
Yeah.
Or I was at the car and I left. I need to go back. Before I go back, can I actually do this? Or can you help me with it? And what am I going to need?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Just
same thing,
right?
Yeah, I had a most bus update to do on a BMW car, so I called them and was like, hey, can you walk me through this on ISTA? And they were like, yeah. He didn't even say, why don't you grab our AutoLogic? Because he knew that that was not a strong suit of any aftermarket tool, because you need to hardwire the. He was like, all right, to make this work fast and successful, we need to set up your router with DHCP and hook your ICOM directly to your router, and then hook your laptop to your router. Don't hook the ICOM directly to your computer, because you'll get this error when you hook up to the radio. And I'm like, because that's what they're for. Like, I don't have to know. Don't try to memorize anything that you have a resource to go look it up. That's not the things you memorize. So I don't need to go and learn all the ins and outs of BMW when I can just call AutoLogic and be like, hey, I need help. Can I do
I
this?
have one I'm working on now that I still need help. I have a 14 4 Series that was in a purchase at an auction. It was a flood. They put a motor in it, and it's a crank nose start. And yeah, it's a nightmare. And even the ice, and it's funny, we scanned it with the eye scan, and I came up with the same results as the Autel.
Yeah.
And I have no codes that tells me what might be wrong with this. And I'm not. I think they assembled the motor wrong.
Yeah, I use them for all kinds of stuff. I had him send me wiring diagrams for a Bentley. I had a seat that didn't work in a Bentley. I was like, I'm not paying for that subscription.
I'm gonna throw this weird, because I'm actually gonna throw the background up of the relative compression I did on this thing, and then you can all laugh. Oh wow. Yeah, keep going without me. Don't worry about me.
Ben J says, what about Blue Link? That's what I do. Blue Link is now in the Opus IVS family, so they're
and they're just down the road from me.
You got an exhaust valve stuck closed. Come on, tell me I'm right. That would make me feel really good if I was right.
If I disconnect fuel and spark, it straightens, the relative compression straightens right out.
Oh, you got an injector hung open. No?
I don't know yet. I haven't answered it yet.
Okay, I think you have an injector hung open if that's the case. If you disconnect the injector, and that you have an injector driver hung open, probably filling the cylinders, so you got two of them on compression stroke at the same time. Normally, when I see that, I would think you have an exhaust valve stuck closed because you have two on compression at the same time. But if that's the case, unplugging the injector fixes it, then I would think you're just filling the cylinder with fuel. What kind of car is that?
It's a 14
Ford
435 XI.
Oh, ooh, then you might have a Vanos issue.
And it doesn't trigger any codes that relate to this issue. No timing, no Vanos, no nothing.
That's weird.
How about I disconnect the fuel? I pulled the fuse for the fuel pump, disconnected all the coils, and cranked the heck out of this thing, and it didn't even trip in a ignition code, a coil code, nothing.
Huh.
I'm wondering if they have a tune in the DME, and nobody knows it.
Maybe look for Dynan stickers.
I'm ready to look for matches and a gallon of gas. Talk about when to walk away. This thing they got a used motor and rebuilt it supposedly and put it in up in North Jersey, and then called in a mobile tech from the North Jersey area. Use your imagination. I don't know for sure, but two mobile techs from the North Jersey area to look at this thing, and nobody could figure it out, and it ended back up on. Did I lose you guys?
Yeah, we lost your picture.
Oh,
that's way worse.
My battery didn't get. Yeah, and then supposedly stopped, and both mobile techs gave up on it, and then it came to Staten Island, and I was asked to look at it.
Well, you have a mechanical issue.
You sure? We started off an injector issue, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I may walk away from this one.
I mean, it looks Vanos, but if they pulled it apart, then I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I would say it's probably something in that. I would think disconnecting injector shouldn't fix that, unless the only thing I'm really good at this part. I'm really good at imagining how things could happen, and if you want me to put something to how the unplugging the injector fixes that issue, is either A, hydrolocking, or B, more probable answer is disconnecting injectors, make it go to some default strategy and not activating Vanos, and the Vanos is probably clocked wrong.
Oh.
So the Vanos is probably clocked wrong, and it's doing that, and then when you unplug an injector, it goes, I'm not doing the Vanos thing because I have an injector unplugged, I have a fault, don't control timing, and then it goes back normal because it lets off of the thing.
Just answer Drew, there is a sync on there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you have one down at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's there. Yeah. whatever. I didn't want to take over the conversation on that one. That's
Yeah.
not what I did that. But this is the kind of stuff we deal with. Hey, look at this, and then I do, and I shouldn't, and I did, and I've been back there twice, and this thing's driving me nuts. And
I had a 15 Rogue that kicked my butt because it was they called and said, all right, here's the deal. Actually, the first call I had for the car was, hey, come program these solenoid numbers for this replacement trans. And then it was, hey, come program some solenoid numbers for this second replacement trans because we put another used one in it. And then it was, hey, can you come program this PCM because we put a PCM in it? And I was like, sure, and I went and programmed it. And then I was like, so what's going on with this? And he's like, oh, our customer bought this car. Shop does a lot of auction cars. He's like, our customer bought it at auction. It had a bad trans because it's shifting really terrible. Put a used one in it, and that one was bad too because, it's a CVT. And we just put another one in it, and we think the transit's fixed. It's still acting kind of funny. But we also have this crankshaft sensor code we're trying to fix, and we replaced the crankshaft sensor a couple times. We've checked all the wiring, so we're going to put a PCM in it, and then throw it on PCM, and it didn't fix it. And the car would come in, and it would long crank and start, and then they found out the crankshaft position sensor was unplugged, so they plugged it in, and the car wouldn't start.
So, hang on. Go back. I'm going back to Corey's. Is it just me, or is his relative compression, that cylinder sync is way off? It's like it's out of time.
Is that amperage or voltage? I can't see the scale, Corey.
Yeah, but I'm saying the cylinder sync, it wouldn't really matter, would it? The sync should still be.
It'd be upside. If it's voltage, it'd be upside down.
If it's voltage, it's still skewed because it should be before top dead center, between 2 and 6 degrees, right?
But see, it's not.
Yeah, Corey, is that voltage or amperage? That's
what I do. I had to walk away and get.
That's amperage, right?
That's amperage. Yeah.
And
okay.
It's not upside down.
Yeah, your spark is almost 180 degrees out.
Yeah, it's out of time.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, whenever you stood up to go away, I noticed it looked like it's way out of time. Just
it's hard to see. Yes, that spark is happening at bottom dead center.
Yeah.
And not throwing a code.
Yeah, timing. But anyway, so this Rogue, they put like 3 or 4 cam sensors in it also. So this is where I messed up. I pulled cam and crank for the outside cam and the crank, and just compared it to my known good, because, trying to be faster at this, trying to be fast being mobile, and it was out. But it was out by like 45 degrees almost exactly for my known good for this car. So I was like, ooh, like, you guys had transmission out a couple times, right? I probably clocked flywheel wrong. And the tech was like, I think it's pinned. I was like, I don't know, but your cam and crank is off. Like, okay. So I said, how much further do you want me to go? Or do you guys want to take it at this and go? And they're like, all right, we'll do it. So, unfortunately the tech pulled the trans on what I said, and the flywheel was correct. And then I said, well, your cam crank's off. So then the tech pulled the timing down for like the second time. And he's like, I'm telling you it's 100% correct. And I'm like, oh, all right, I'm coming back out. Came back out, pulled cam and crank, same cam, and then the crank. It's all the same thing. And I was like, man, it's different now, because he's like, yeah, it was out of time, so I changed the timing. Like, it's still not right, though. So I pulled both cam and crank, and the intake cam was different. Had a different number of reluctors. Started looking a little closer, motor had been replaced. And the waveform matched up for like a 2010. This was a 15 or 16. I had the wrong motor in it.
Brutal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I feel bad. But I didn't put 2 transmissions in PCM. So, I don't know. It sucks.
I mean, I had a shop that put a cam and lifters in a Chevy 5.3 for a misfire. Pulled it back down, put heads on it, another cam and lifters for a misfire. Pulled it back down again because they thought that they had did something wrong, and then called me in, and G103 was bad, causing the misfire.
Yeah. Not providing good enough ground to the coils.
Yeah.
G103 goes to the coils.
Was that left lower of the block?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The last G103 issue I had was it had like a ignition relay circuit code. And during my testing, I'd gotten to the ground on the coils, and it was like 11 volts. And I was like, what? Or no, not the ground, the the oil control wire or something had like 11 volts. I was like, this is weird. And then I unplugged an injector and it got better, and another injector and it got better, and another injector got, like, the more injectors I unplugged, the better it got. I once got closer to zero. I was like, what in the world? And I started looking at the diagram and I was like, oh, hold on, here we go. Reached down there, it was just loose. Tightened it up because they had just put a motor in it, and I tightened it up and then put everything back in and started it up. And he's like, what'd you do? I was like, I tightened the ground bolt. Chased my butt because I didn't follow my process.
Yep.
Looking at a diagram and
that's what kicked my butt on that Sonic, was I didn't follow my process. Just,
every time
it
I
can't be this and it can't be that. And,
it can't be.
Yep.
It's got to be really difficult.
Yep.
You know, it's funny, but I'm looking like, so Keith, you had a Nissan Rogue kick your ass. I had one. Drew's got up there saying he had a 17 Rogues. Basically, the answer is don't work on Rogues.
Yeah, don't work on Rogues.
Dude, that's what I bricked tonight. It was the Infinity Rogue.
It was
the EX35.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I had one too.
And shoot, there's even a warning in the auto tool when you go to program a key. Just, hey, just be prepared to brick a Rogue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't add a key. Add a paperweight.
Yeah.
Actually, I read an article. I actually read an article about the push button Rogues 14 to 16. If you do them with, I think the auto was bricking the BCM on them.
The console bricks them too.
I was going to say console's bricking
them.
them too, just so you know.
Yeah.
I refuse. At the advice of some really awesome locksmith friends, I will only send Rogues to the dealer for keys, because if it's gonna brick, it's gonna brick on them.
Yep.
I will eat my lunch on this Infinity today, but it's an 08, so I can still do used, and I'm not gonna cry that bad about it.
Yeah, and if you have trouble getting a used one, Isaac, message me.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can make it happen. I already found, in the time that it took me to drive home and log into the chat, I already found 4 in North Carolina.
Yeah. I went to the pull and pay to get a whole bunch of modules for the class we got coming up, and setting up a bunch of bench harnesses and stuff. And dude hooked me up at $26 a module if I can pull it out.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I got a bunch of E38s. Put it that way. And Chrysler 4-pin ones, the older style. Because I can sell those. I probably program 3 of those a week.
Oh my God, I did 6 Chryslers last week, and 4 of them were in one day, and I was just like, man, they're just they're having a hard time, and 3 of them were Wranglers.
Really? I don't do many Wranglers. I do a lot of
Wrangler's a popular truck around here.
I do a lot of O2 sensor Diags on and condemning PCMs and like Chrysler 300s and Chargers. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's what 2 of the Wranglers were for O2 sensors.
Yeah.
Just like that one Brian had this week. And then I have a Durango that has an internal memory fault, a 601 or 603, that is for some programming error that there was a very popular article on I didn't fix about unplugging the brake controller to program it. It's one of those Mitsubishi Dakota hybrid.
Yeah, that reminds me. I need to buy that domain.
What domain?
Mitsubishi
Which one?
Hybrid? Mitsubishi Dakota Hybrid.
No. I
What's
didn't
the other domain
fix.
you got there, Keith?
Yeah, my favorite one is lsidbypass.com.
Yeah, bypass. That's it. I use that all the time.
Yeah, go to lsidbypass.com. They're like, oh yeah? You're like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I actually have I did one, the Nissan PO 101 update. I did one this week, and I got 3 more to do. All of a sudden, I had that 14 Sentra, and then I got 4. I got 2. I got called on another one today. That's Monday.
Hold on, we're almost there.
What are you doing?
I'm checking out for that domain right now.
Which one?
I'll tell you in a second when I finish buying it.
You're straight up buying.
I do this all the time. Isaac and I have done this a lot.
Own some amazing domains.
Hey, you can turn around and sell those for some coin later on. If it
Okay,
ever happens.
I officially own ididn'tfix.com.
Oh, you mother.
So give me a minute to set up a funny redirect, and everyone on the chat can go check it out.
What was the name of it?
ididn'tfix.com.
I didn't fix.
Yeah,
I've been calling it that for years.
I know, but I now own it. So
Yeah, you've been calling it that, but Keith owns it.
yeah, we're gonna. What should we forward it to? Not the one. No, I'm just gonna forward it to mine because that's funnier. Let's see.
So.
You should forward it to the actual website.
No, that's no fun. All right, forward to.
It's okay. I own some pretty entertaining ones along with makeautomotivegreatagain.com.
Oh man, really? Oh, I tried to buy MAGA 2024. I tried to buy it. I was like, I could sell this for so much money. It was already there.
Yes, I own makeautomotivegreatagain.com, makeautomotivegreatagain.com. There's some other good ones.
I don't know how long it takes this redirect to set up. Hopefully pretty quickly.
You know, I forget where I was, but I was talking to somebody and they lived in San Francisco, and they talked about how they basically sat in a Starbucks and listened for people to have discussions about their businesses and their future businesses. And they would sit there and they would buy all the domains while they were sitting there and having their coffee and talking about what they were going to name their business, all this stuff. And then they would get up and they would leave their business card and say, hey, if you're interested in buying any of these websites, I own them all. Give me a call.
That's awesome.
And that was how they made their money. And I was like, yo, that's some kind of skeezy shit. But at the same time, that's really creative marketing.
It is. It's definitely.
You're
creative.
just jealous that you didn't think of it.
Dude, I love branding. I think branding's a lot of fun. I think that's one of the most fun parts that you can have in owning a business is enjoying your branding and having fun with it. I like acronyms. All my business names and stuff were always based on acronyms. I tried to do car with 2 R's. It was going to be Carolina Automotive Repair, or Carolina Automotive Rescue and Repair, but then there was another business that used Carolina Automotive Restoration and Repair. So I don't want to have the same acronym as another. And but yeah, wordplay can be a lot of fun, and branding is a lot of fun in owning a shop.
Yeah. There we go. I set it all up. People are already saying it works. It's nothing funny. It just goes to my training website. But, you know, that way when someone goes to ididn'tfix.com, Corey. Oh, is that available? Dude, I own so many domains. I don't even know how many I own. Oh, somebody already owns that, Corey. What does it say when I go there?
Well, what's their other one? It's direct hit. So can we buy direct miss?
I like that.
This web page is parked for free. Somebody owns that, and they haven't put anything there yet. Just the top words on your shirt, Corey. Above the line there.
Is that offensive? Is this going to get a flag now?
Probably.
Oh,
It's taken.
come on.
It's taken. Yeah, direct miss is taken.
You need to
This
fly
is-
away there, Corey.
Huh?
You need to put the wings on and fly away.
Yeah.
Hang on. I've got some wings.
It says this domain is for sale for $3,095. Directmiss.com.
Oh, that's too bad.
That's an intake manifold with wings.
Oh god.
Is that a Sonic?
No, that was that Buick Encore this morning.
Wait, so you can't? Can we make directmiss.ididn'tfix.com?
Do what?
Directmiss.ididn'tfix.com.
Oh,
Sorry,
maybe.
Squirrel.
Yeah, swirl. Yeah, squirrel.
So, Erico owns it.
Yeah. Oh god.
Is that better? Now it won't get flagged.
Terrible. And those guys are doing such a hard job, and they're making a difference. They're really nice.
I don't know what to say right now.
Yeah. All right. So, do we have any more questions? Or
Yeah,
so we really just answered questions this time. We didn't really have much of a way to go.
So we came into this with we're going to stay on topic. We're going to pick a topic and stay on topic, and we from the
And
ground
so
to the
far,
word go.
all that's
hey,
happened
our
is I've
topic was answering questions.
yeah. So far, all that's happened is I've bought a domain, which you can all send people to ididn'tfix.com.
That's great. I gotta go check it out now.
Yeah, it just goes to my website, my training website.
That's great.
I set up I did set up one specifically for my ADOS customers. What I've been doing is I set up for any of you guys that are doing mobile, something I got with, I started making flyers specifically for my glass installers, because I now have brick and mortar to do ADOS calibrations for end user customers, which normally is something I would never do, is work with end user, but this is specifically ones that just had a windshield installed. That's it. You know, so this isn't some end user customer that's found me on the internet and has a code and needs to get this done. So the flyer doesn't have my business name on it. It has the website that they can go to that's semi-branded my company, and then that's got a little video about what is ADOS, and why the windshield camera needs to be calibrated and stuff. And then it's got our phone number at the bottom to schedule for an appointment. And it just basically I don't have one near me, I don't think. No, they're up in the front office. It just basically says new windshield ? You know, it's like most manufacturers require a calibration of the forward-facing camera in order to complete a windshield replacement job. Something like that. Something, you know, with a couple little logos, a couple little emblems on it and stuff. And that's helped out a lot. So we're starting to schedule ADOS calibrations here at the shop regularly. For you mobile guys that are doing ADOS, that's something to look at. Start talking to your glass installers locally.
Brad wants to hear about cars that stumped you. No, we don't talk about those. We just forget about them.
Yeah.
Try to forget about them.
Yeah.
First rule of Fight Club.
Yeah.
And they always say, don't take your work home with you. That's easier said than done.
Yeah.
There's
No.
God.
Don't
Dang.
build a
If
garage at your house.
one beats me, I spend so much time figuring out why it beat me.
16 rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst part about that is
Sonic.
you're not ever going to find out what's wrong.
Yeah. See, and
Right.
that sucks.
That's what
Right.
sucks.
That's why I was there at 1 o'clock in the morning, putting that ECM back in it. I knew it was on the side. It was outside the shop, and I had the key. I said, "Well, nobody's going to bother me." I pulled a DeFazio at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was out there turning wrenches.
That's what it looked like. Yeah, exactly. It brought back memories watching Keith. I'm like, geez, Corey, you guys never sleep.
That whole city never
No,
sleeps,
I
though.
can't.
Right?
Well, you know, I think it was DeFazio that said it. They said if you don't wake up at 2:30 in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning and like jump up and go, I think I know what's wrong with that car. If that doesn't happen, then you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Don, I don't know if I want to have that conversation.
Then I'm trying too damn hard. Then
Don, that question could cause some major controversy. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, look, that especially with the trained by tech personnel.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But
No, I can be totally open-minded about it, but I also have... Yeah, we're going to leave it alone.
yeah,
Yeah, look, I'm just gonna say my favorite tool in my box, or not in my box, but in my mobile rig is my test light.
Yeah, scope on a rope.
I don't need a scope for a lot of stuff. I mean, I proved a bad engine ground. I think I sent Brandon that Diag. I went to a shop and they had a vehicle that had an electrical fire, and they repaired the harness, and they said, it won't crank. And they said, well, the cluster dims and then it slowly dims back up. And I went out to it, found put my test light on the block, no ground on the block. And then, okay, you got a bad block, grabbed jumper cable, stuck it on there, started the car. And I was like, fix your block ground. And it was all done with the test light. No fancy scoping, no real voltage drop testing. It was a visual indicator voltage drop.
yep. I remember that one because that was one of those days that you were stupid excited and like screaming into the phone about figuring out the Diag.
That was fun. What was funny to me, it was 30 seconds. And you know, those Diags do pay well. I'm a flat fee for up to 90 minutes. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a big win for me.
Yep.
I try to make it super short, but because I don't want it to come off the wrong way, I rarely use a scope anymore. Because I've gotten pretty quick with other stuff. But if you're not into scopes, you need to get into it and scope everything and overscope everything and scope way too much stuff. Waste a bunch of time scoping stuff just because, and get super familiar with it. And when you do that and you get it down and you get farther in your career of getting really good at this, at Diag and electrical and stuff, then you'll find you don't use it very often. But when you need to use it, it cuts the work down so far.
Yep.
If you get in one of those jobs where you had to have a scope to fix the car, there was not going to be a way to definitively check it any other way but a scope. And I run into that often.
I like the scope for CAN bust stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'll be the first one to admit, my first go-to scope is usually my Snap-on, mainly just because I'm quick
already on your scan tool.
It's like my Veris Edge is my first grab scan tool because it's Windows based. I can check all my service info on it fairly easy, scan, and then I've got the scope sitting right there. So
usually my first thing is, can I get away with the U scope on this one? Because I don't want to pull out the Pico because it's the pain in the neck.
I don't even use a voltmeter anymore unless I'm checking resistance. I just use a U scope.
I haven't even pulled out I pulled out my Pico today.
What is a DVOM?
Correlation. But besides that, in the last 2 months, I haven't even grabbed it. It's been the Snap-on, or 90% of it's been with a test light. If I can be in and out with a test light, I'm good to go.
Yeah. We just don't want anyone to misconstrue this as us saying you don't need a scope. You need to have a scope and you need to be super proficient at it. Just once you're that way, you won't use it as much. And it's a great thing. Got to have it. I have a whole bunch of them. And like Brandon says, the Snap-on is what he grabs first. So besides the U scope, because I literally just grabbed that for every electrical diag that I do. Besides that, I've actually found that I'm kind of liking the Autel scope more than the Pico, just because it's already on my scan tool and it's wireless from the scan tool.
That's pretty sweet.
And they did a really good job on the scope mimicking a lot of how Pico works. I don't know if you guys have used anything off the VCMI yet, but holy crap, it's way better. The rulers, all the functions in it, the screen buffer and everything, it works really well.
Well, see, I mean, being mobile all in one is what makes it fast too. And so, like, that's why like my Pico is mounted to my computer and the scope's mounted.
That right there.
It makes it, because before I got my e-scope, I never hardly ever touched my Pico because it was two separate things, and trying to drag everything out and get it all set up, it's not quick. So 90% of my stuff was with my Snap-on scope just because it was quick.
Yep.
I'd tell you what, I like my I had the Autel with the 408. And I loved it. Like, I loved it until I zapped it.
Yeah, I zapped a 408 too.
It still works, but it freezes.
I had a 351 Windsor truck. The distributor was bleeding voltage, and it hit my lead and went back to the. Matter of fact, Zach, the guy who works with me, we were working at the same shop, and we're sitting there scoping secondary ignition on this, and my laptop started acting weird. Like the mouse wasn't working real well, and because it was getting 30K, 30,000 volts to it through the USB and everything. I mean, it was just it killed the channel. I was like, oh, that's weird. It dropped to 0 volts. I wonder what's going on. I undid it, and when I went to go clip it back on, I got zapped, and I was like, oh, threw it, and I was like, so we unplugged it, and I was like, hold on. My laptop was fine. The scope channel was dead. Killed the 408. But they warrantied it for me, so.
No, I had it in a coil, and I was doing something. I looked over, and I noticed the attenuator was sitting over there, and I went, oh, I got two of them. I go, nope, I got one of them. It's over there. And then I look, and the graph is going, it'll start running, and then just go, bloop, and freeze. I'd reset it, it'll go, bloop, 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 freeze. I'm like, this ain't good.
Yeah. I had an attenuator, but I don't care if you attenuate it or not. 30,000 volts directly to the scope lead. Yeah. Yep.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Don't you guys all back probe spark plug wires?
Oh, yeah.
I pierce them.
Yeah.
I pierce them.
Yeah, you side pierce. Yeah.
And salt water. Salt water works good too.
Yeah, salt water.
In You guys have just not stepped up to licking orange cables yet.
No. Oh, I saw a
Yeah.
picture of someone pulled an engine out of a hybrid at a junkyard, and they literally just, like wire bolt cutters cut all the harness stuff, including the orange cables. It was just like, oh god. I hope the battery was out of that when they did it. That's about the only way to hurt yourself with a hybrid is be really stupid.
Yeah.
Well, and even that, there's enough safety systems in there that is actually perfectly safe.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
as long as the car's off when you do it.
Yeah.
If you do it when it's on, depending on what system it is, it will happen in as little as 0.2 of a second that it will shut the system down if you cut that orange cable, though.
Yeah. You'd have to leave it running and cut both of them at the same time with your hands on the bare metal to probably get zapped. And it's still only going to be that fast before it goes, circuit open. Oh, let it go.
Sounds like we need to build a case study.
Well, see what I usually do is I'll take out the shunt, and then I usually lick my fingers and stick back in there to make sure there's voltage going through the circuit.
Make sure there's continuity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that doesn't even work, really.
Yeah, you just
I've seen electricians do that. They want to test the circuit. They stick the finger in the socket and they go, yeah, it's still on. I'm like, really? They go, yeah, you gotta try it. I go, no.
Yeah, as long as you're just putting your 2 fingers on the same hand there, you're good. It's not passing over your heart. You're good.
Yeah.
You
just lose a finger.
As long as you're not wearing a ring on that finger and don't get it sleeved.
Yeah.
Hey, so Thomas has a good question. How do you financially determine when to add a scan tool?
Whenever you cannot do a job and you're the owner of the business.
So,
can I answer that?
No.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not.
Well, I think that was asked backwards because it seems like it appears like he's asking, at what point do you financially, you're saved up the money to buy the tool when it should go the other way. It's when you're at the point where the tool is going to pay for itself. Yeah. That's the question. When you know the tool is going to go back to the ROI again.
Yep.
When you know the tool is going to pay for itself, I'm going to spend this amount of money, but it's going to make me this amount of money. So
where I'm at with ADOS targets.
It's not a question of can I afford it? Can I afford to be without it?
Yeah. But see, you can. Whenever you say making money, you've also got to think of like time is money. So like how Keith was saying, the Ultra, using the scope on the Ultra, it's speeding him up, and wireless, so time's money. So the scan tool's making him money because he's quicker at it. Or like if you want to get into keys, the IM608, because it's fairly quick at it. So the
reason why I have both an iScan and an AutoLogic and an Icon.
Yeah. Right. Because you can get the jobs done quicker, which you might be able to do more jobs saying, okay, I got this scan tool, I can do more, but is it going to make you faster? Because faster is money as well. So,
yeah. And I think, sorry, go ahead.
No, and there are some tools, I have some tools that they haven't paid for themselves just as a tool, but they allow me to get other things done. So therefore I can't be without it. And like a simple, and I don't know if there's a good example, but like my TPMS tool, the only time I use it is when I do a Ford BCM and I got to relearn the TPMSs. I don't go around doing TPMSs. I don't do tires.
Yep.
So the only time I pull that tool out is if I have to do a Ford BCM that requires TPMS reset.
Yes.
So is that tool paid for itself? Indirectly, yes. I can't be without it. I haven't done TPMSs that it paid for itself, but it allowed me to do other things that I couldn't without it. So that's my
answer. And I agree with that. And as far as, going mobile, I know for myself, I look at my books at the end of the month, and obviously I want to net a certain amount in order for the business to be financially, doable and to last. And that's when I determine, okay, do I have enough left over? How much can I spend at the end of the month or whatever, and still be okay? Is this tool going to give me a return on investment? That's my biggest thing. I've made a lot of stupid purchases over the years.
Same.
A lot of stupid purchases, and
I bought a Jeep.
If I could do things over again, it would be different. Yes, I have a lot of tools. But there's a lot of tools that I have not gotten a return on investment, and 90% of why I went mobile, or that's a huge probably thing why I did go mobile, knowing that I did have all these tools that were not paying for themselves. Going mobile, they've definitely come into play the last 2 months than they have the last 5 years on a lot of the tools that I do have, because you're just pushing them farther.
Like I know for a
Now-
fact. Oh, go ahead, Isaac.
What now the real question is too is what is your ROI period? You know, for some tools I want to see my return on investment in 12 months. Some I want to see it in 60 days. Some I want to see it at 18 months. And so it really depends on how you're going to utilize that tool in your business. Like a lot of them, like you were saying about the TPMS, it's the ability to say yes and do a complete offering. And there's tools that I will never see an ROI on it, but if I break even, you know, great. But if it allowed me to do that one job that allowed me to say yes and help that shop say yes, and it led to a fruitful relationship past that, then
Right.
it's good.
That's where I'm looking at right now with Mercedes. I don't do enough Euro, but I'm highly contemplating the Kit 4 just because I wouldn't have to turn Mercedes away, and I could potentially get more out of it. I don't think I would see ROI even in the entire 3-month lease of owning it, or 3-year lease of owning it.
And then the other small part of that is, if you tell a shop, no, I can't do that particular BMW or Mercedes because I don't have iScan or I don't have an icon,
They'll never call you back.
Bingo. Now, when you do get, and it's happened to me, where I didn't have a tool, and then I got the tool, and then I had to go tell them, listen, I can do that function now. So if you get it again, please consider calling me. So that I have done. So there's your ROI, because it's not what the tool did. It's the fact that they're not going to call you for the next 6 jobs, and it may just be a GM flash. It's like, I don't know if he can do it or not. He couldn't do the last one. Let's just call this other guy because I know he can get it done.
Because he can do everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So that goes back to what I said before. It's not a question of affording a tool. Can you afford to be without it?
And then I know, like, talk about wasting money. My Maximus 3.0 literally just sits. Like, I might use that once a month. But, that Sonic that I had my issues with, if it wasn't for my Maximus, I probably wouldn't even, I'd still be messing with the car. So kind of lose on some, but then it gives you the ability to do more. So your return on investment might just be, I was able to do something once.
Hey, Isaac, you want to mention Zach's?
Yeah. So Zach has posed 2 pretty good questions here. And the first question is there room in other industries for mobile Diag guys, such as medium and heavy duty diesel or off-road applications? And I would say there's a huge demand for that because there's a big gap in aftermarket service information when it comes to that too. So all the information that we have compiled for automotive is not there for the medium and heavy duty worlds. I don't know if you guys have ever used Mitchell's medium duty or heavy duty, or used a medium or heavy duty scan tool, but it leaves something to be desired. The service information is lacking. So I would say, yes, Zach, there's absolutely a huge demand there. One of the guys that is big in mobile, in medium and heavy duty and off-road is Michael. How do you say Michael's last name?
E.
Okay, so that's how I wrote it down as Michael E. I believe his boob tube and Instagram is Bus Jockey.
Bus Jockey, yeah.
But Michael really explores into that realm and does a really good job. There's a CTI instructor, Brent DeFlel, that does an excellent job, and he does a lot of deep dive into the mobile, to medium and heavy duty diesel and after treatment systems. And so, yeah, if you could create a career as a aftermarket, an after treatment diagnostic specialist, I would say there's a huge demand for it, especially as the EPA continues to crack down on tuners and people deleting these systems. The demand for these systems to be functional and fully compliant is there. So if you can get really good at after treatment diag, I would say that you could probably make a career just out of that if you were in an area with a lot of industry.
You can also charge way more than you can in the auto industry on that stuff. Not trying to like scalp, but just because half the time, if their piece of equipment's broke down in the middle of doing a job, they're losing money. So they'll pay whatever to get it back up and going. So
It
you
may-
can
it may have a payload on it, and it needs to get going.
Yeah.
So
and so they'll pay that extra whatever to get it figured out and gone. So you could, I've seen a lot where on the heavy duty side is being able to charge more, so you'll actually make more, but you got to
Sure.
have the knowledge and the tooling to be able to do that.
Well, and part of it, so here's part of the other side of that is the heavy duty tools do not comply with right to repair. I do some medium duty and heavy duty diag for the Penske truck centers, and they asked me to do an Allison transmission, and I called Allison, went through the DOC application process, and Allison does not allow anybody to program their transmissions at all outside of the factory. There's no one, they don't even let the US government that have these vehicles contracted do their own programming. And then David Friend was able to apply and get Insight set up, and they were authorize him to do calibrations, and that's a really difficult thing to do. Cummins is not just going to allow anybody to access to their programming database and that side of Insight. So there are going to be some restrictions as to what you can do on the medium duty, heavy duty side that right to repair is not currently covering.
I run into that issue. My second job is for the City Transit Authority, New York City Transit. And I've seen that issue with them where they don't give us and we buy thousands of vehicles and they don't give us the programming capability. It's limited. They got to call the vendor back to program. I'm like, and I have a hard time understanding that. You buy millions and millions of dollars in equipment and they won't let you program your own stuff. I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
And I would say if anybody has a problem with that, the best way that we're going to be able to get access to that in the future or fight for that access is to file an SIR through NASTF. Anytime that you run into something where you are unable to access that information, at this point, NASTF is our only channel to really file an official complaint with the OEs and hear our voice heard. So as of now, if you run into that, Corey, or anybody that's watching this, and you run into something, you say, hey, I want to program this. I didn't do it when I wanted to program the Allison transmission. I probably should, and I could file the SIR, and I will tomorrow if somebody reminds me, and just say, hey, I was unable to do this. And we know the answer is going to be, hey, we don't let you do that. But if we never file these SIRs and our voices are never recognized in a legal channel, then nothing's ever going to happen. Because
Right.
I know that people have some gripes about that, but hey, this is the only way we're going to be able to change this as an industry. So please file your SIRs.
Yep.
yeah, yep.
Okay. Good point.
And then there was one more question, and this is coming around, and I think a lot of this has to do with the introduction of the IM series tools and other tools that have come to market. But is the line between what a locksmith does and what a mobile diag business does blurring? And I think that there has to be some legal speak somewhat on that, because like for me, I have my NASTF VSP, but I am not a locksmith. I do not offer locksmith services. I offer key duplication services, the same as a hardware store is. I just happen to have better capabilities than they do.
Yeah, like I'll take, our area. I don't consider me, and nobody's gonna understand this except for Isaac, I don't consider me a Brad, and Brad's a legit locksmith. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm kind of rambling, but there is a huge difference between what a locksmith is and what we do. Like, I don't know how to leash or leashy or whatever, however you pronounce it. I don't know how to do any of that.
Pick a lock.
So,
Yeah.
Pick a lock. There's pop a lock.
hit it with a hammer, I guess. I don't know.
No, you didn't
but
know
really,
you could just slit a hole in a tennis ball and then hit it, and it pops the lock open.
Okay.
Just wiffle ball air, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think to answer that, yes, they've been highly convoluted between the two because so many module replacements and normal functions now require a VSP, and we were just talking about this, weren't we, Isaac, with Mike? And trying to come up with a list of things that are not theft related that require a VSP. We were coming up with
And I
lists
think
of
that
those
list
to
is
talk
going to
about.
grow fast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can't do a radar calibration on a newer Ford without having a VSP. You can't code a restraint control module or a bunch of modules on FDRS cars without going and performing a VSP transaction that requires a D1. There are lots.
Ford BCMs.
Yeah, that's almost theft related though. I mean, I meant like a restraint control module.
Right.
Like,
And I understand some of it from the OE standpoint, because we argue this all the time. Like, hey, you should get certifications, you should get training. So ASCs are not a legal certification grounds that is a government endorsed entity. And I don't know, Michigan, I believe, Michigan licenses technicians. So no side work's legal in Michigan and that kind of stuff. And so I believe that this is the road to redemption for our industry. I don't necessarily believe that this is going to be the smoothest way to get there, but I do believe that these policies are relevant and do have a place. I think it's inconvenient. I don't like the way that it's happening, but I do agree that we need to raise the bar on professionalism, especially for some of these ADOS functions.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so the line between those is blurring greatly. We're having to do more and more, not locksmith functions, but more and more security and theft related functions than what we ever have in our industry. And locksmiths are finding that it's not as easy as just rolling up, hooking up their one universal tool they've been able to use for a while, pressing a button and programming a key.
Which
it involves a lot more.
Locksmiths don't even have they don't even have a VSP though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No. So
most of them don't.
no, most of them don't.
There are 5,300
Locksmiths also have a
registered
LOA.
VSPs
Jeez.
in the world.
But locksmiths also have a LOA.
Right.
And there is a locksmith association, and I believe their ALOA login does a similar thing, but I'm not 100% on that. But I believe that it has some similar capabilities as far as security credentials go. I don't know, Keith, can you speak to that more?
That I know of now, the ALOA does not allow for key cut codes or anything.
Okay.
To the manufacturers. The manufacturers only accept VSP transactions now because of our dollar.
Okay.
We legislated them into giving us something, so now they have to give it to us, which means they're going to set ground rules. Or when it was pay to play, buy the tool if you can afford it. So that's the double-edged sword of right to repair. When we require that they give us things, and we make it to where they have to spend our millions in dollars in R&D to come up with software and logins, and they have to support a system, then it's going to cost. Just like
be careful what you ask for, you just might get it.
Right. And as much as we all like to attack them for it, look, man, I run a business. So someone comes to me and says, hey, by the way, you have to create this login portal for all your customers, and you're going to need to make it to where you can set up this API, and you're going to have to probably put someone in place to kind of facilitate all this stuff and set up a new department and all this, and you're going to have to do it to keep working on cars. Like, I'm charging for that. That's going to happen. If you're going to make me spend money to set all this up, you are absolutely paying for it. It will not be free.
Now, right?
Right.
It happens now. We have to pay for information. Let's say,
right. It is exactly the same thing. We have to keep that in mind every time we gripe at OEs for stuff like, we made them do this. We made Nissan and Chrysler write new software, which is not cheap, to come up with a whole new scan tool to make work with everyone else's hardware and all these other manufacturers. You know, GM's been doing it for a long time. It didn't cost them a whole lot of money. They were already using a J2534 style device for their factory software and pass through and everything.
All right, gentlemen, I got to tip out. I'm gonna bow out. You guys continue without me. Thank you. We'll chat later.
I don't know how much more we're going to continue. Have a good night. He said later, Tater.
So
that
Thomas
question from Thomas. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Brandon.
No, I was trying to lead into it for you. Go ahead.
Oh, go for it. It's all you, bud.
No. I was trying to get you to get into it.
Okay. So Thomas had a question. How long did it take for you to start your business as far as licensing before you could finally get out and get to work? Obviously that's different for each one of us, because obviously Keith and Brandon kind of just jumped right into it. For
Surprise,
myself,
mother-
I didn't. What's that?
I said, surprise, mother.
Yeah. So for myself, it was, man, I really didn't want to go into a shop until I was fully insured and everything else. And the insurance was a pain. And hopefully mentioned to you guys as far as like the consulting, it was huge. So insurance took me about 2 months, honestly, to finally get it. And I didn't know if my deadline, I wanted to go mobile beginning of January, the beginning of the new year. And come, it was getting down to the end of December when I finally got insurance. But I tried for 2.5 months before that and just got denied, and didn't know where to go, didn't know who to talk to, didn't know how to approach it. So mentioning consulting obviously completely changed it. If I knew what I knew now and I went back and I mentioned the consulting and mentioned the insurance and everything else and knowing who to go through, it would probably be less than a month that you could have, you could be insured and everything else. And once I got insured, I applied for my VSP, and within a week, I had my VSP. Not as fast as Corey, but the turnaround and everything is super quick on it. I didn't feel that I needed my VSP essentially to immediately start out to go mobile, but I knew that that's where the industry is going. So it's something I really did want to. I set money aside, starting my business to get my VSP, and I figured since I had the insurance, I need to try it, and I got approved actually the first time. So it wasn't easy, but it can be doable within a month if you guys know the right people in insurance and stuff like that. So
I don't even have my VSP yet. I mean, I'm in the process. North Carolina's stupid. I got the business and good standing report. That's like a 2-week process almost. So
dude, I'll show you how to do that really easy. That's an online process. You can do it in minutes.
NASTF just changed their ability to accept them, like just recently.
Well, and so like for North Carolina, so we used to have business licenses. So when I first applied, we still had county business license and state business license. So I had to submit both of them. Then they determined it was unconstitutional in North Carolina to require you to have a local business license on top of your state business license. So then you now just have a Secretary of State in good standing form with North Carolina. And that is your business thing. And you can get it easy online. Christina and I will show you in a couple of minutes.
Oh, because the one that I found, I had to mail in or fax in, and then they had to mail me out the form. That's what I thought. Never mind.
Got you, homie. We'll get that shit.
They just recently, NASTF recently accepts even screenshots of your business in good standing from the online report system.
Okay.
Yeah, they put out a video saying that they accept it that way because some states don't even offer that kind of setup.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that.
But I know for me, I had my LLC before I quit my other job. So before I went full-time jarhead, I had already had my LLC, but my total turnaround time was 2 weeks. That was from the time I said I'm going to get my LLC till I had my LLC completed and my insurance completed. Luckily, though, in North Carolina, we've got IGONC, Independent Garage Owners of North Carolina, and they have a huge insurance for automotive just in general and what we've got going on. So it was an easy process for North Carolina to get that stuff done. So, but yeah, it was like a 2-week turnaround total. And I had that before I quit my other job. And so that way, the moment that I quit, I could automatically go to work and not have to worry about anything.
So if you want to get started on this, it is free to make a federal employment identification number, and that is the first step that you can do. So if you just Google FEIN, that is your first step to becoming your own entity, and it is free to do, and it can be done online pretty much instantly. Then check with your Secretary of State, and if you don't have an IGONC or an IGO in your state, look for your ASA and reach out to your ASA president or an ASA member or an ASA shop and say, hey, who's your guys' preferred insurance? I know in North Carolina, it's pretty much Federated and Selective are our major underwriters that I've seen with most of our shops. And Selective has worked really well with me. when I had my brick and mortar and as a mobile guy. I've been really happy with the agent. I believe Lamar came out to go see Brandon too.
Yep.
But our agent has just, when you find the right agent that understands your business, it makes all the difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like whenever, because like I said, I'm in the process of doing my VSP, so I contacted Lamar about, just getting the upgraded copy of my insurance to submit for the VSP. And Lamar's like, "Do you want me to bring you a copy of it?" And I was like, "No, I'm good. You can just fax me one or email it." He was going to bring me like a legit copy of it. I was like, "I'm good. Just email it."
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, because agents don't understand. So like Thomas was asking or whatever, is it just wording or whatever, calling these insurance companies? Me, I was cold calling insurance companies, man. I reached out to networking guys as far as I called, I think I called somebody in North Carolina. Who did I call? Your guy, Brandon? I think I called your guy.
Yeah. I told you to contact Lamar just to see if he had anybody.
He got me in touch with somebody else, but he ended up not returning my phone call. So, I'm cold calling these insurance companies and everything and telling them that I was going to start a mobile diagnostics and programming company. And immediately they'd say, it's not covered. They wouldn't even hear what I do or anything else. It's not covered. I would ask that same company, do you cover locksmiths? Yep. Well, what's the difference?
Yeah.
So
doing
they
less work than they are.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they don't get that we're doing essentially a lot of the same things. But when they hear diagnostics, I don't know what they honestly think it is, but it's an immediate no. So to sit here and say consulting, that you're going in, that you're not pulling tires, you're not doing mechanical repairs, you're going in, you're telling the shop what it needs, and you're leaving, then it was a night and day difference. Well, since then, so I got my insurance through Hiscox Insurance. And I found an agent that was able to get me wrote up and everything. Well, in that meantime, I had another gentleman reach out to me that's actually a broker. So if you can find an insurance broker that deals with a bunch of different insurance companies, that way they can price shop and everything, not just, Progressive, not just Hiscox, not just a single insurance company, where they can price shop and everything is best. But on top of that, my new agent, he's underwrote insurance policies similar to mine in the past. So he knows what I'm looking for. So a month after I went with this insurance company, I ended up switching it and going to another insurance company just because I felt that he understood my business model more than my original agent, if that makes any sense. So
Absolutely.
2 million liability. Yes, Gary. It's 1 million. I have a 2 million just to be safe, I guess.
Yeah.
But whenever you do insurance, don't just stop with whatever I need for my VSP. You also want to
insure your equipment.
Tools. You need to make it. Like for me, I've got one for tools, one for computers, and with our industry or what we're doing, they kind of overlap. So that way I'm kind of double covered for them. And then you also want to make sure that you're covered if you are doing any type of Diag work and you burn down a shop, that your insurance will cover to replace that shop that you just burned down from your Diag.
Because that happens weekly.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. It's a thing, though.
It only takes that one time, though.
Yeah, exactly.
One time.
Yeah.
So I will say, obviously, so I was getting my business license and everything else, obviously in the midst of COVID. So our courthouses and everything else are shut down. So getting my LLC, getting all this stuff, man, you had to email this person and email this person. And it was just so overwhelming. And then I'm obviously working at a shop full time, trying to do this during the day, at work on my lunchtime and everything else. So it was a lot. So I ended up spending a little bit more money, and I ended up going through LegalZoom, and man, they did all the legwork and stuff for me that I couldn't do just because of, like I said, everything being shut down. So just know that there are other options and stuff as far as, because it's overwhelming at first as far as, your business licenses, you need this and you need this. And it's they kind of guide you a little bit more. And I wasn't business savvy. So I felt that was money well spent on my end. But just know that there are options and stuff like that. So
Oh yeah, and if you don't want to do a full like LLC or S corp or anything like that, as small as your business will be, you can do it under a sole proprietorship. You still got to follow the legal aspects of a sole proprietor, but there is that avenue to where you're using your social security number instead of having a your federal ID and all that other stuff. So there's ways you can do that, and then if you're doing that, then you can do a DBA as whatever name it is, but just depends on how you want to start your business, really.
Yep. Looking to see any other questions.
That's fine. It's that awkward silence after you got done telling your girl you loved her for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't hear that back until like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
I love you. Oh,
Well,
thank
gentlemen,
you.
it's 10 o'clock my time. I got to get going.
Yep, I think we answered a lot of the questions.
Yeah.
Keith, you want to shout out the email or whatever for
Yeah.
part 3? There's more questions.
Yep, TechQuestions at L1training.com. Just make sure you notate that it's a question for the Roundtable. That's my normal inflow for my other videos I do, but it's an email that's already set up, so there you go.
Yep, makes it easy. Hey,
Yep.
we really appreciate you guys joining us and stuff tonight, and there was a lot of good questions, and we hope to answer some more here in the future and stuff. So thank you all for taking a Friday evening and then hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
All right. Hey, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.
All right. Later.
All right, so I ended the stream.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.